सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे पुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयम् नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। चिन्मयो नाम रूपस्य आनन्दो वै स्वभावतः वेदगीतासमुद्धर्ता ज्ञानयज्ञव्रते स्थितः चिन्मयौ जीवनौ यस्य स्मरणौ यस्य चेतना ज्ञानदानं धृतिर्यस्य तस्य पादौ भजाम्यहम्।
Session beginning.
ॐ प्रातस्मरामि हृदि संस्फुरदात्मतत्त्वम् सच्चित्सुखं परमहंसगतिं तुरीयम् यत्स्वप्नजागरसुषुप्तमवैति नित्यम् तद्ब्रह्म निष्कलमहं न च भूतसङ्घः। Hari Om friends, welcome to this camp. Almost concluding. My last two verses are left. We are, by the grace of our teacher, we have come to the concluding portion of this topic we have taken up. Our earlier series was on the absolute, all manifestation absolute. Now, this time the topic is the self, its nature. So from the standpoint of the scriptures, the best is always conveyed first. Therefore, absolute is the highest truth. Then we come to the individual level, and there also we discover the self as the reality, infinite reality. So now we are on the concluding portions of this series. So before we begin, as usual, we'd like Aniket to present the summary of the last one. We are meeting after 2 months. Please.
Hari Om. I welcome all of Hari Om and salutations to all of us. I welcome all of us to the 7th bi-monthly part-day camp on the theme, the self, its nature, discussing on Vivek Chudamani verses 124 to 135. I have the opportunity to present the summary of the camp 4.6 held on Sunday, 12th December 2021. The camp started with a clarifying discussion on the difference between Bodha, Nitya Bodha and Pratibodha. And to elaborate this point, the distinction between light and the object that is perceived was taken. By itself, light is invisible. We perceive objects by their being illuminated, and in this we recognize light that otherwise by itself was not perceptible. Similarly, when consciousness illumines the OET, I find I am conscious of objects, emotions, and thoughts. And then regarding this light of consciousness, I realize that my own contents are consciousness. I am of the nature of the changeless witness consciousness, the self. The witness consciousness by itself is not perceptible, but only when we become conscious and are able to perceive OET, we recognize the invisible light of consciousness. And this process of perception is referred to as pratibodha. From there, I come to know that there is bodha, the light, which by itself is invisible. So eventually, there are three specific levels. The pure knowledge available as the infinite light of awareness, illumining the experiences of all living beings, which is Nitya Bodha. The Bodha, which is illumination by pure consciousness within. And Pratibodha is the perception of objects. This is the hint that there is something responsible for illumination of all the objects and experiences that we get. The reference was made to the Ekashloki Swatmabodh, where the progressive aspects of light that illumine perception are made clear over and over again. Again, light is not perceptible, but the objects are perceived, and from there the light is understood. So this is the Pratibodha part. After this, verse number 132 was taken up. There was a context setting done where it was indicated that verses 131 to 133 constitute the essence of Mandukya Karika. And we then moved into verse number 132. Atraiva satvatmani dhi guhayam avyakrutakasha urup prakashaha akasha uchchai ravivat prakashate swatejasa vishwamidam prakashayan. Uru is great, Variya is greater, Varishtha is greatest. So the literal translation of this verse indicates that in the atmosphere of the unmanifest, the Atman of the captivating glory shines like the sun, high in the sky, illuminating this universe by its very own effulgence. So this is the general meaning. Now, when we say that nature of Paramatma, we are referring to the infinite light of objectless awareness. Where is it located? First, it is said that Atraeva. So more than looking anywhere else, it is a clear indicator for the seeker that everything that is being discussed here is right here, right now, within you, in this very body itself. All these levels of awareness are there, starting from PFTI to the individual I, to the witness I, to Paramatma. All of these are within the body only. How to traverse this and how to ensure that we recognize all the levels separately is what we will discuss and find the path and walk the path after that. First of all, it's said in a Sattvatmani, in a mind full of Sattva. At present, the mind has a fair quantity of Rajas and Tamas and a little bit Sattva. Tamas is indicated by Atma Vismriti, self-forgetfulness. And this is what ensures that Paramatma is not self-evident to us. The qualified mind is a quiet and alert mind. Quiet mind indicates it is cut off from the world of objects, emotions, and thoughts. And this quiet mind has become vigilant and alert too. So once the mind has become free of OET-related thoughts or an abundance of OET-related thoughts, the vigilance part comes in and ensures that thoughts related to OET do not enter again. So first, there is an exclusion of the OET thoughts, and then there is a gate because of which the OET thoughts cannot come in again. Then the alert mind, a mind which has smelt the possibility of existence within, but it has not completely realized it, or the knowledge of the existence is not completely available at the moment. Thus, a mind which is quiet, vigilant, and alert is indicative of a sattva predominant mind. The greater the sattva, rajas and tamas remain in small quantities only for functional purposes, and the mind becomes an embodiment of three qualities: shanti, jnana, and prasannata. It is basically quiet. It is toned to be peaceful by practiced reflection or meditation on the self. And such a sattvic mind has an access to the reality. Then we proceed to the intellect. What does it mean when the shlok says dhi guhayam, the inner cave of the intellect or core of the intellectual personality? Deeper into the intellect means that the intellect needs to be a lot more introvert than extrovert. Our normal intellectual capacity is no match for the subtle capabilities of the innermost recesses of our intellect, which have the ability to reveal the Paramatma. Normal thinking is related to the world of objects, emotions, and thoughts. First is the body, then the vital air sheath. Neither of them come anywhere close. Then a peaceful, knowledgeable, and cheerful mind as a sattvic mind becomes an important instrument. And then we arrive at the intellect. Only a sattvic mind can provide access to this cave of the intellect, what is referred to as dhi guhayam. Now, how do we visualize inside the cave? First, we come across Prakriti in unmanifest condition, Avyakruta. We reach here from the world of BMI, OET, etc. The shloka says, Dhi guhayam avyakruta akashe. Akashe needs to be considered more of a medium and not exactly Akash. Beyond Avyakruta is Uruprakasha, the great light. This divine light is this self-effulgent light, which is the infinite light of awareness belonging to Paramatma, which is the original light. Paramatma is the only original light. All the later lights are reflected lights. Paramatma is Tejomaya, effulgent, and this level is beyond Avyakruta clearly. The word Akasha needs consideration. Now, it needs consideration because it seems to be the critical link between Paramatma and consciousness. So in space, there is nothing. Nothing is there. In space, there is, what is space essentially? Nothing. Nothing from the standpoint of the entire world of things and beings. From the standpoint of space, there is nothing of the creation. But before even the space, there is something, and that something there is the infinite light of awareness, and this is above the Avyakruta level. This awareness is infinite, and it illumines all the experiences of living beings. Experiences of the ego are made possible by the function of I know, which can be attributed only to the light of awareness. At the level of consciousness, it illumines the upadhis and activates them. Between the all-pervading universal consciousness and the infinite awareness, there is Avyakruta Prakriti. Hence, the reference to Purusha Purana. Why Purusha Purana? Purusha Purana because before all of this Prakriti manifested, there was an age-old person who is the Purusha. Even before the Prakriti, consciousness is considered after the Prakriti manifests. Once again, all of this is within us. But we are discussing something which is subtle. Between BMI, intellect is subtle. And we are discussing what is lying beyond the intellect. Beyond the intellect, there is Avyakruta Prakriti. And beyond that lies the infinite light of awareness. And this light illumines the entire creation like the sun. And that is where the Suryavat mention is there. And the entire set of experiences of living beings standing from beyond even the Avyakruta Prakriti. So here the standing from beyond Avyakruta Prakriti is emphasized because while like the sun, it is very important, and without it, there is no illumination of anything. By itself, it has nothing to do with the Avyakruta Prakriti or even the Prakriti that manifests after it. Atma is Sat-Chit-Ananda Nitya Nirmala, as referred in Atma Bodh. And this glory of the Paramatma is its own glory, original. All subsequent glories are fundamentally reflected. And the Paramatma has no motive in giving this light. It is not that I want to give you this light, or it is not that it is providing service. It has no motive. It is by its own nature. So just like the sun has no motive or service that it renders, here it is its own nature. Similarly, the Paramatma by its own very nature is self-effulgent. Here a question was raised, is Avyakruta Akasha same as Chidakasha? The answer given was, it is considered as Chidakasha because Chit is the infinite light of awareness which is present there but not accessible. Prakriti is an unmanifest condition where there is only space, where there is only this light. On one side, there is nothing of the Prakriti, and on the other side, there is infinite light of awareness. Since Prakriti is unmanifest there, Avyakruta, there is no access for it immediately. But Shastra says that beyond Prakriti, when Prakriti is unmanifest, there is only infinite light of awareness. And here the reference was made to the point that for any knowledge beyond our sensory perceptions, Shastra is a pramana. Our state of waking is illuminated by Chidabhasa in addition to pure consciousness. Dream is illuminated by pure consciousness. There, Chidabhasa is absent. But deep sleep state is something like Avyakruta. There is a similarity drawn here. And why the similarity? Because this was the practical aspect discussed of all the teaching that we had discussed in them. So deep sleep state is something like Avyakruta. From standpoint of body mind, this state has nothing. But from the other side, there is the all-pervasive witness consciousness which illumines the absence of everything in deep sleep. So in dream and in waking, there is the entire world of objects and thoughts. From that perspective, the deep sleep state has nothing. But the nothing is also illuminated by this all-pervasive witness consciousness, which illumines the absence of everything in deep sleep. So the fourth state, which is the pure witness consciousness, illumines all the other three states, with or without body. With or without body, with or without mind. Witness consciousness is constant. It is termed Kutastha. Like light, it illumines both presence as well as absence of thought. Now, normally, consciousness is associated with upadhis. But when the subtlest upadhi or intellect or thought is transcended, that is what we are seeking to achieve in meditation. The nature of the self in us is the changeless witness consciousness. Once we transcend even the thought of the self, when the reference of upadhis are negated, that consciousness, independent of upadhis, is awareness. When upadhis are negated, we negate the vyakruta prakriti. When the sadhaka discovers that the upadhis are non-existent in deep sleep, he comes to conclude that since they are not there in all three states of time, they are principally non-existent. And this is the part which is a constant reminder and elaboration of nasato vidyate bhavaha, na bhavo vidyate sataha. Asat is asat because it is not available in all the three periods of time. So all the three states by themselves are unreal. And when thought is transcended, we land in the area of pure consciousness. There we can completely negate upadhis. And when we negate upadhis, we reach awareness. Sat-Chit-Atma, Kutastha Atma, Antaratma are there in all three states, while body and mind are never there in all three states. And once this is understood, we can access the inner core where the divine light resides and illumines all the experiences of all living beings. So this was the discussion on verse 132. And with this, the part 1 of the camp was concluded. In part 2, the verse 133 was taken up for discussion. Jnata manoham kriti vikriyana dehendriya prana krita kriyana ayognivatta nanuvartamano na cheshtate no vikaroti kinchana. Now the reference here for Paramatma is made as Jnata, knower of mind, ego, body, sense organs, and prana. Vikriyas are the various modifications that go on in the vrittis, and Paramatma, the self, is the knower of them all. Dehendriya and pranas are responsible for activities in the world, and these two are known by Paramatma. But how is this knowing? It is ayog agnivat. Ayaha stands for iron and Agni for fire. The reference is made to Atma Bodh. Similar to the red hot ball of iron, it looks like it is being conditioned by modifications, but in reality is not. It is not. What is being conditioned by modification? Looking at the red hot ball of iron, it appears that the fire is round and that the fire is being subject to modifications. But in reality, all the modifications are happening only in the iron ball. The shape belongs to the iron ball, and this shape and conditions of the iron ball are being superimposed on the fire. Similarly, it looks like it is being conditioned by all the modifications, but in reality, it is not. There are no movements in awareness, nor are there any modifications. And like the fire is not involved at all with the ball of iron, the Jnata is not interested or involved in all the experiences that are illumined by it. The shape of the iron ball is superimposed upon the fire. The shape of the thoughts or the shape of objects, etc., is superimposed on the Paramatma. Jnata as awareness is real, while Chidabhasa as Pramata is unreal. It is only the reflection of the light of awareness in intellect. Pramata is always associated with Pramana and Prameyam. And this triad itself is Mithya. The real knower is Paramatma. And even there we find that he is na cheshtate, na vikaroti. There is no movement or there is no change. All movements and changes, they belong to the upadhis, body, mind, prana, and finally ego. But they never belong to the consciousness. Things and beings are two types of objects we are perceived by us in our daily life. When we refer to things, they are inert and insentient. And beings are inert in conditioning, but they are conscious. They are conscious of the surroundings and feelings and of themselves. Now, this consciousness, according to the quality of subtle body, manifests. But just the gross body is not capable of manifesting consciousness. Because of consciousness, perception is possible. And it is because of ego and mind that we claim the activities to ourselves. Consciousness, its presence, activates the instruments, BMI, according to their nature. But without it, the experiences are not possible. BMI and their modifications or changes by themselves also have no access to the consciousness. Brahma Prakashate means that effulgence, illumination, is the nature of the Brahman. By its own nature, it knows everything. In our philosophy, even the effulgence of the sun is attributed first to divine effulgence, and from there the sun derives its shine. Now, verse 130, with this we came to a concluding portion of the camp, and it was again summarized that verse 131 to 133 are a condensed presentation of the Mandukya Karika. Verse 131 connects the Paramatma with Antaratma. 132 gives us the levels of infinite awareness, especially with reference to consciousness on one side, Avyakruta Prakriti, and the infinite light of awareness on the other. And in verse 133, we differentiate between the Pramata with respect to the Chidabhasa and Jnata, which is the infinite light of awareness. Jnata illumines completely, independent of everything, while consciousness is associated with upadhis, whether it is sense organs, whether it is prana, and which is referred here in the term Ayo Agnivat. With these three verses, we can start with Antaratma and reach Paramatma, successfully negating Prakriti. Now, while elaborating on the conclusion for verse 132, the example of the light coming from behind the film projecting the movie on the screen was taken here. So between the film and the screen, there is, when the light passes through the lens, it converges on a focus, and from the focus it again diverges and projects on the screen till it comes into the film. The light is pure light. After it comes into contact with the film and passes through the film, a combination of the variations on the film and the light project ahead from there. But without the light, the film can never deliver anything, and without the screen, without the screen, the film nor the light has anything to project upon. So these are basically different ways. These are the different ways to arrive at the Paramatma. Film can be equated to the Prakriti here, and the light that is light after the post. The light beyond the film towards the screen is compared to consciousness, while the light before the film is basically compared to the awareness part. Verses 131 to 133 are most important in this section. We are looking to understand Paramatma, which is the point till which the sadhaka has to trace the path from Jiva Chaitanya to Atma Chaitanya and finally to Brahma Chaitanya. And here the guidance of teachers and scriptures is a great krupa in this journey. Hari Om.
Very nice. I suggest that all the so far summaries that Aniket has presented, excluding the repetition part of it, if we can compile these, then that becomes a very important reference book for this portion. As we have already taken out from monthly Vichar Yajna, the Atma Bodh, few copies were taken out. Similarly, this compilation will definitely be useful to all of us. Now we are proceeding, and before proceeding, would like to chant all the previous verses also. So we'll read verses up to from 124 to 133. अथ ते सम्प्रवक्ष्यामि स्वरूपं परमात्मनः यद्विज्ञाय नरो बन्धान् मुक्तः कैवल्यमश्नुते अस्ति कश्चित् स्वयं नित्यम् अहं प्रत्ययलम्बनः अवस्थात्रयसाक्षी सन् पञ्चकोशविलक्षणः यो विजानाति सकलं जाग्रत् स्वप्न सुषुप्तिषु बुद्धि तद्वृत्ति सद्भावम् अभावमहमित्ययम् यः पश्यति स्वयं सर्वं यन्न पश्यति कश्चन यश्चेतयति बुद्ध्यादि न तद्यं चेतयत्ययम् येन विश्वमिदं व्याप्तं येन व्याप्नोति किञ्चन आभारूपमिदं सर्वं यं भान्तमनुभात्ययम् यस्य सन्निधिमात्रेण देहेन्द्रियमनोधियः विषयेषु स्वकीयेषु वर्तन्ते प्रेरिता इव अहङ्कारादिदेहान्ताः विषयाश्च सुखादयः वेद्यन्ते घटवद्येन नित्यबोधस्वरूपिणा एषोऽन्तरात्मा पुरुषः पुराणः निरन्तराखण्डसुखानुभूतिः सदैकरूपः प्रतिबोधमात्रः येनैषिता वागसवश्चरन्ति अत्रैकसत्त्वात्मनिधि गुहायाम् अव्याकृताकाश उरुप्रकाशः आकाश उच्चैः रविवत् प्रकाशते स्वतेजसा विश्वमिदं प्रकाशयन् ज्ञाता मनोहङ्कृति विक्रियाणां देहेन्द्रियप्राणकृतक्रियाणाम् अयोग्निवत्ताननुवर्तमानः न चेष्टते नो विकरोति किञ्चन. These are the verses now we have chanted. About 10 verses. 15, 16, 19 verses. Now, before proceeding to the new portion, is there any point which still remains to be discussed? No. So now we'll proceed to the next verse, number 134. न जायते नो म्रियते न वर्धते न क्षीयते वो विकरोति नित्यः विलीयमानेऽपि वपुष्यमस्मिन् न लीयते कुम्भ इवाम्बरं स्वयम्. न जायते नो म्रियते न वर्धते न क्षीयते नो विकरोति नित्यः विलीयमानेऽपि वपुष्यमस्मिन् न लीयते कुम्भ इवाम्बरं स्वयम्. Actually, I have written down all the previous verses here. I'm trying to read whatever I have written. So this is the verse number 134. And when you say na jayate namriyate, it reminds us of the Gita verse also, of the similar type, describing the self. Here the translation goes, neither it is born, na jayate, nor does it die, namriyate, neither does it grow, na vardhate, nor does it decay, na kshiyate. Being eternal, it does not undergo any change. Nitya na vikaroti. Even when this body is destroyed, vapushi amushmin viliyamane api. Vapushi is body. When the body amushmin vapushi in this body, and viliyamane api, even when this body is destroyed, na liyate, it does not cease to exist. How the example is given? It's like a space in the jar that is broken, independent of jar. So, kumbhe iva ambaram swayam na liyate. Kumbhe iva ambaram. In the space, in the pot, the space, that is pot space. Like a pot space, the space itself does not destroy when the pot is destroyed. In fact, the space, instead of saying pot space and that surrounding space, the fact is that the pot is created in space. Before even the pot was created, the space was already there. The pot was created in space, and the walls of the pot just gave us the concept that there is an outer space and an inner space. So this idea came because of the upadhi, the pot, that there is something outside, there is something inside. So space was mentally imagined to be inner space and the outer space. But space was never divided as such. Space is one only, and in the sense of accommodation, it only allowed the pot to rise in space. And so the pot existed in space. When the pot is broken, the space is not broken, nor it is destroyed. So space only merges, liyate, it only merges with the surrounding atmosphere. So now because the pot is open on the top, and its mouth is open, therefore we may not understand this. But when we consider, say for instance, entrapped atmosphere, like a bubble. Now in Atmabodha also, there is some verse which says about bubbles. Upadane kiladare, jaganti parameshware, sargasthiti layanyanti budbudani varini. These words, universes are born like bubbles and die like bubbles, burst like bubbles. Now, when the bubble bursts, what is the condition before bursting and after bursting? Before bursting, the bubble is with full surface tension because of the outer atmosphere. Compared to inner atmosphere, the outer atmosphere has got a more pressure. So, due to surface tension, bubble can burst anytime. Bubble has got a form. Atmosphere or air, space does not have any form. So, this form is burst. Because your point is na jayate, na mriyate. Why you are referring to that it is not born, it is not dying? Somebody must be dying and born, which you want to differentiate. So it is the bubble that is born, it is the bubble that is burst. And in case of living beings, vardate kshiyate. From childhood to youth, it is growing, middle age, a little steady, and then the old age is the decay. So likewise, nakshiyate, nakshiyate, na vardate. So neither grows nor decays. Now all these are related to living beings. Earlier point was related to only things like bubble. So na jayate, na vardate. Neither created nor destroyed. Related to all forms. And when it is say na vardate, na kshiyate, it is related to living beings. Living beings from the conception onward, there is a growth and development. Finally, it is born. So all that asti, jayate, vardate, viparinamate, apakshiyate, vinashyati. These all shadvikaras. They are vikaras, modifications, changes. They take place in the living being. There is nothing like this in the bubble. So bubble, you may find the bubble is increasing from a small, etc. But that is all in the natural course of atmospheric difference. The pressure difference between inside the bubble and outside the bubble. So that was the only struggle. And otherwise it is insentient and inert. So neither the things or forms are created, nor, this is related to what? Ayamatma, Paramatma. This self is neither born nor dies. Then who is born and dies? Mr. Ego is born. Mr. Egoistic individual is born. And then that grows, etc., going through all sixfold modifications, and finally it dies. So this is related to na vardate na kshiyate, related to living beings, and na jayate na mriyate, related to all forms. All forms are created, all forms are destroyed. In the living forms, in these forms, there is a vital air or life force that is entered, which gives a movement, and then that contributes to the growth, etc. As the number of breaths or the prana force goes weakened, then the individual gets emaciated, the body gets emaciated or reduced, kshiyate, and in all these above, jayate, mriyate, vardate, kshiyate, these are all changes. Therefore, na vikaroti. Ayam atma, being nitya, na vikaroti. Nitya is the reason why this is not applicable to Atma. Because it is eternal existence, it is not subject to birth and death, not subject to growing and weakening. No such changes because it is eternal. This is first aspect of it. And then the example of Kumbhe iva ambaram swayam na liyate. Like a space in the pot which is broken, swayam atma na liyate. Swayam atma, the self, is not subject to the death, etc. So this is overall the description. Because pot, example of pot is taken, but the pot is open to atmosphere at its mouth. Therefore, the atmosphere is outside, inside. There is no binding. There is no partitioning between the space inside and outside. It is open. Therefore, we can consider bubble, where the air is entrapped. And the entrapped air is not different from the outer air, but appears to be conditioned or partitioned because of the form of the bubble. The bubble is born, the bubble bursts, but not the space inside. When the bubble bursts, the space which was already entrapped was from the atmosphere only. Then it goes back to become atmosphere. So here the na liyate does not destroy. This self is not subject to destruction even when the body dies. So the pot, gross pot form is related to physical body, and the vital air is related, prana force is related to something which is even subtler than the atmosphere. Prana Shakti is not just the oxygen. We have discussed this point earlier. Yoga defines the prana as pranastu dehajo vayuhu. Prana is the vital air which is born along with the body. So it is, the body is containing the prana itself when it is born. Therefore, it is not that it is depending entirely upon the oxygen that is breathed in. The oxygen is only auxiliary aid for the prana force within. So prana force is within the body, which is there along with the birth of the body. It is born with that vitality, and therefore it sustains itself. And to sustain, the outer oxygen becomes a help through our breathing exercise. So when we are breathing in and out as such, it only helps to the prana force within. And prana force is, we are aware that there are fivefold physiological functions that are conducted by prana force. So this kind of prana force within and prana force without is all the three lokas, Bhurloka, Bhuvarloka and Swarloka. All the three lokas are pervaded by prana. This is one of the great questions that the Gargi asked and the Yajnavalkya answered. He said, what is it that pervades all the three lokas? And he said, Vayuhu. And this is the understanding that the vital air sheath or the life force pervades all the three lokas, and that is why the movement of the jiva from Bhurloka to Swarloka and back to Bhurloka, this movement is possible because of the vital air only. Because of this life force, the jiva, after death of the body, is able to travel to the required destination from Bhurloka to Swarloka or other lokas, lower lokas, according to the karma, and comes back to Bhurloka again. So this kind of movement is possible because of life force only, Prana Shakti. This Prana Shakti is inborn along with the body, and it takes the help of oxygen from outside. So that economy also, we are aware that the trees and plants, they emit oxygen and they take carbon dioxide, while we give up carbon dioxide and we take in oxygen. So this kind of economy in the energy vitality is also appreciated in the nature. So here also we can say finally, na vikaroti ayam atma swayam na liyate is the last line, and in the second line, no vikaroti. Reason being, it is eternal existence, nityaha. So being eternal existence, the self is not subject to change, na vikaroti, and next is na liyate, is not subject to destruction. So these two are the checkpoints for the self. Now here we'll find that na vikaroti is being repeated. So again the same point is being traced. If you see the earlier verse, again 133, last line, na cheshtate no vikaroti kinchana. So no vikaroti has already appeared. Acha. Then the earlier verse also, you see, avyakrita vyakrita has come. So unmanifest nature and manifest. In the manifest, it keeps on changing. The Maya Prakriti, Prakritim to Maya to Prakritim Vidyam, Mayinam to Maheshwaram. Shweta Shvetaropanishad, where it is said that Maya and Prakriti are not different, they are taken as synonymous. Mayam to Prakritim Vidhi, Mayinam to Maheshwaram. And Mayin, the one who rules over Maya, is the Lord Maheshwara. So there, this Maya and Prakriti. This Prakriti is unmanifest, and later on it become manifest and goes through various levels till it becomes the form. And then the intelligent individual gives it a name. So mind gives it a name, and outside there is a form. So the name and form relationship, we have seen that mind cannot conceive anything that has no form, and it is not termed something. So name and form association is together, and mind conceives only with the help of name and form. Now, point here is that the self is without form, self is without prana force, self is without prakriti. So, all this, the point of vikaroti, that does not modify, na vikaroti, is repeated in last two verses for really nothing special. So we have made a change. Instead of a pot which is open to atmosphere at its mouth, if we take the example of the bubble in which the air is entrapped, and then the bubble bursts. So the bubble is born, bubble bursts, but not the atmosphere within. Similarly, here also Mr. Ego or egoistic individual is born and it dies, but not the infinite awareness or the pure all-pervasive consciousness. witness consciousness. They continue to exist. Now the self is like the sun and its light. Here it is the Paramatma and its light is the self. So the Paramatma is what is being described, but that is the nature of the self. Why this difference? Because of the appearance of the physical body and the mind, then the inner self is considered as Antaratma. This Antaratma is a witness of what is going on inside. It also provides the light. It also activates the equipment so that they can perform according to their nature. So body perceives, mind feels, and intellect thinks. Now these equipments are able to function according to their nature because they are vitalized by the life force, that is first thing, and they are in the presence of the pure witness consciousness. Pure witness consciousness, we have to remember the technical term as Kutastha Sakshi Atma. Kutastha stands for changeless, which does not change, like an anvil. And Sakshi indicates that it does not involve in any of the activities or performances of BMI, body, mind, intellect. Therefore, he is Sakshi, a witness. And lastly, Atma, when it is said, though here it is only looks like light or consciousness, it is like the rays of the sun and they are all converged in one sun. Similarly, the all-pervasive witness consciousness or the light of infinite awareness, they are all focused or they have their origin, they have their source in the Brahman. So that is the truth. So the eternal truth and infinite reality, these are only descriptions, they are only wording, but it is all one and the same. We are only referring to upadhis, therefore the description differs from at different levels. So this is the first two lines that we have seen now. न जायते no mriyate na vartate nakshiyate no vikaroti nitya. And the viliyamane also we have seen. Now in this, as we have said that it is already repeating, now vikaroti is repeated. Nityaha is right from the beginning. If you see the earlier verses also, starting verses, etc. Then they're describing the nature of Paramatman. Asti Kaschit Swayam Nityam. So there Nityam has come already in the second verse. That is 125. So these are actually nothing, no new concept is there. Therefore, we need to review, revise, and see if there is any missing gaps in our understanding. So now we can therefore review the words, and if you have anything in mind to be clarified or to be discussed further, we will welcome that discussion. As a gross body, like gross body, subtle body is also subject to modification. Like gross body has asti, jayate, vardhati, etc. Similarly, the subtle body has also got kama, krodha, moha. The various thoughts are in their different modifications. So subtle body also is subject to modification. So it is gross and subtle body that are upadhis or conditioning and that are subject to change, starting from its creation to its destruction, and in between also. It is subject to modification, but not the self. When it says self, it is Antaratma. Paramatma, the Supreme Self. These are all only, again, the imaginary terms because of the reference to Upadhi. Because of this physical body and mind, we say there is an outer world, there is an inner world of thoughts and feelings, and then there is a self. Outer world, inner world, and a self. This division is as such with reference to the form only, basically. First the gross form, then the thought form, subtle form. So beyond this is the domain of the self. This is called Antaratma. And with reference to Upadhi, it is called Antaratma, the inner self. Otherwise, there is no difference between inner self and outer self. That was about subtle body, also subject to modification. But beyond gross and subtle is the self. Causal body is only inference. Seeing the behavior of the person at the physical level, at the mental level, his likes and dislikes, his desires and passions. Seeing this, we infer that there has to be some source cause for this. That cause is ignorance about the nature of the self. My nature being eternal existence, when not known, when I'm ignorant about it, then I desire for longevity. So we celebrate birthdays and wish many happy returns and all that. So that is because of the basic ignorance that we are not subject to change and it is an eternal reality. There again, the one may consider that not subject to change and eternally existing, or immediately we may conceive the stone also, stone or mountains which are there for ages together. But even that is differentiated by Acharya in Advaita philosophy by giving it a term Chetana Brahma. So that to Brahma the Chetana is added. So Brahma Swayam Prakashate. This is how it is that Brahman is awareful of everything. Though it doesn't consider it as different from it, but it is awareful of its inherent powers. So the powers of pure knowledge or the powers of infinite awareness, the light, they are manifest powers. Awareness and consciousness are manifest powers. Unmanifest power is pure knowledge, which is inseparable from Brahman. Similarly, the awareness is inseparable from the self. These are levels of consciousness we need to consider only because of our ability to comprehend is limited, and so we need such help of conceptions and then go beyond the concept. So this was the main consideration. So we have discussed the gross body subject to modifications, subtle body subject to modifications, prana is subject to exhausting from the body by breath and all that. When we say he breathes his last, it means that the prana force is in a position to quit the body because it is no more able to suck in the air and exhaust it. So this aspect only indicates the changes at the level of the gross body, the vital air sheath, food sheath, vital air sheath, and the mental sheath, intellectual sheath. These are the 4 layers which are there, and we infer that since the person behaves like this, he wishes for longevity, and he wishes for happiness. He says happy journey, happy, everything is happy. Why? Because he wants happiness. But that is because he is ignorant of his nature as endless bliss. So the ignorance of the endless bliss as one's nature gives rise to a desire for happiness. Similarly, ignorance about the next one, the ignorance about the pure knowledge gives rise to a desire to know. So then the child is entered in the school and it learns very many subjects. It gets to know so many information about the world, about its own body, mind, etc. So likewise, this desire to know is caused by ignorance that it is of the nature of pure knowledge. Similarly, the eternal existence we have seen, pure knowledge we have seen, and the last one is the Ananda. So in all these aspirations or desire to live long is ignorance about our eternal nature. Then desire to know is the ignorance of our pure knowledge. And lastly, the desire for happiness is due to ignorance of our nature as endless bliss. So Sat-Chit-Ananda nature is not known, and against this, the relatively the desire to exist or to live a day more, desire to live a day more when if the opportunity allows to live a day more, and then the desire to know, we should not be exposed as ignorant fellows. See, everybody knows about it and I don't know. Then I just manage by saying, yes, it has appeared in paper, so we say, and we just cover our ignorance that we are not aware of this news. Likewise, there is a aspiration for knowledge, and the one feels shy if the ignorance is exposed. This is the second aspect of it. And the last aspect is the ignorance of infinite or endless bliss gives rise to a desire to be happy. So he thinks something that there is something wrong there is within us and we are not happy. So these three desires, desire for longevity, desire for happiness, desire for knowledge, they are all indicative of our basic ignorance about our true nature as Sat, that is eternal existence, Chit, that is infinite knowledge, pure knowledge, and Ananda, that is endless bliss. So this is at Paramatma level. We have seen in the beginning the prayer, Sat-Chit-Ananda Paramatmane Namaha. The Paramatma is of the nature of Sat-Chit-Ananda, and the ignorance of this gives rise to the other concepts of longevity, of happiness, and of knowledge. So incidentally, we will go through all this, but we will not be conditioned by these ideas. So incidentally, the child is entered in the school, and it's okay because child doesn't know anything. At least it must be for transactional capacity. It must be given certain knowledge related to the world, certain knowledge related to its own health of body, mind, etc. So this is that is another we can say. And Vapushi, Amushmin Vapushi Viliyamane Ayamatma Naliyate. That was the last. And Kumbe Ambarem Iva. That is the illustration. So as such, there is no, basically there is a repetition of the concept already clear. You will find that in Vivek Chudamani concise, in short, Swami Dayananda has made an effort to concise all 581 verses into 108 verses. Of course, Swami Paramatmananda has helped him in selecting those verses. So in this particular topic, there are only 2 verses selected. What we are going through, as such the verses from 124 to 135, he has only selected 2 or 3 verses. So that is because he thinks that in Vivek Chudamani, at places there are repetitions of the ideas. And so, avoiding the repetition, we can have the 108 verses. So in our Mira Satsanga, we have completed this 108 verses of Vivek Chudamani as commented by Swami Dayananda. So here, there being a repetition of the ideas, we don't have nothing new to it. Now, from your standpoint, if you find something else still requires to be discussed, then we will go through that.
Yeah. If we consider our deep sleep state, there is no desire for happiness, there is no desire for longevity, or there is no desire for knowledge. If we think on it, then these desires are absent in the deep sleep. Then if I compare my waking state, in my waking state, I have so many things to compare. I have my own experiences. Then if I see some knowledgeable person, then I can compare with that knowledgeable person. I feel that I am ignorant. I must have knowledge. When I see a child, I see that child is blissful. I don't have that bliss with me. It is tension free and all. So when I compare myself with every other thing or my experience and my experiences I compare with. So my experience with knowledgeable person and my experience with my own knowledge. Then I compare and then I have this desire that I must have this. So at that time,
in our transactions also will come across, if you are ignorant, your transactions cannot be full effortless or successful.
yes,
You will come across them.
Yes. So my experience, when I compare, so in any transaction, if I don't know how to proceed further, then I know that something is lacking. So when I compare with the experiences or people or situation, then this desire comes because I feel myself trapped in some situation where I am lacking something. So therefore, I cannot come out of this. If at that time if I am able to remember that there is one more state where I don't need all these things, like deep sleep.
So now the deep sleep is to be considered in more detail. It only means that in deep sleep everything is absent. It is not absent. It is in the seed form. It is in the unmanifest form, and therefore deep sleep state, from the standpoint of this body, mind, intellect, and their perceptions, feeling, thoughts, desires, etc. All these are in the seed form, unmanifest form. Therefore, this state of deep sleep is considered as avyakrita. From the standpoint of BMIO, PFTOET, it is unmanifest. And in the dream and waking, it becomes manifest. This is one aspect. That avyakrita prakriti is in deep sleep. It becomes vyakrita in the dream state and becomes further grossified in the waking state. Again, it goes back. Now, this nature is operating like this, and the intelligent man finds a clue in that. So now, from the standpoint of BMI, PFTOET, there is this kind of nature is in unmanifest form in that state of deep sleep, right? This is one aspect. The other aspect is, therefore, only thing that is present in the deep sleep is the pure light of witness consciousness. Now, pure light, it is because it is not connected with any upadhi, therefore pure. And then witness, because it is not involved even during the waking and dream also, it is not involved in the activities of body mind. We even ordinarily, the sunlight is not involved in anything, but it illumines, and the illumination being its nature. So the light of the sun illumines the world, and then the world will find it convenient to transact the business with the world. So one gets up. Surya lokam yatha janaha. In Atmabodh it is said, as the sun rises, the birds, animals, all living beings start working on them. Whatever is their motivating force, they start. So the birds, etc., will go out for the food, etc. So these activities start from the dream state onwards, and then they are grossified in the waking state. But in the deep sleep state, they are in unmanifest form. Therefore, that state of deep sleep is otherwise called as avyakrita, unmanifest. So the Prakriti is unmanifest in the deep sleep. Then after some time, in the dream state, the vasanas are disturbed. When vasanas are disturbed, based on vasanas, those disturbed vasanas, the mind projects them as the dream world. Then it is further grossified when I become conscious of the physical body. I wake up, and then the all concepts become grossified in the outer world. Now, this is really like a miracle. It happens. Our attention is not fully drawn towards this phenomena, and this is needs to be observed. What happens in the deep sleep? We can recall that Mr. Ego also is absent, and all the world of perception, feeling, thought is absent. BMI I am not conscious of. So this is the condition of unmanifest. So from the standpoint of Prakriti, it is sometimes unmanifest, sometimes manifest. To manifest, it requires conditioning. So when we have got mind, subtle body, then it manifests as dream state. When we are conscious of the gross body, then it becomes waking state. But at the deep sleep state, as the BMI PFTOET is in unmanifest condition, on this side there is a pure light of witness consciousness. This witness consciousness illumines all the three states. Yat swapna jagara sushuptam avaiti nityam. It is awareful of all the three states and illumines them simultaneously. So this is the presence of this is not recognized as such. But ordinarily by the individual it is not recognized. Even the state of endless bliss that is manifest in the deep sleep state of the self. The self is of the nature of in endless bliss. It is experienced, but still majority of us do not know that they were in the blissful state. What they feel is that they had a good relax, all their what you can say, tiresome and physical tiresome or mental fatigue, they are all gone in the deep sleep state, and now they are fresh again. Again for what? Again to go out and discover whether there is any happiness in the world. To collect the crumbs of happiness, again he moves out into the world. Now this kind of thing, that on one side there is the pure light of witness consciousness, and on the other side there are upadhis, BMI, PFT ego, and OET world. Now these all upadhis, they are converged as unmanifest. Both are unmanifest. The light of consciousness is unmanifest. The vasanas or avidya is unmanifest. When they two come together, then because of awareness, the vasanas get the power to manifest. So from the deep sleep state to dream state, and then it is further grossified. This happens. We are not involved in this in our self effort. There is no effort to go to sleep, though we may say going to sleep, etc. Sleep comes over us, not that we go to sleep. There is no such a self effort involved in that. Slowly, slowly, the eyelids are closed. We stop hearing from the ear, and such perceptions become weakened or they disappear. Then the mind also becomes obliterated, and finally we land in a state wherein entire world of BMI, PFTOET is reduced to unmanifest. This is called Prakriti in unmanifest form. Technical term is Avyakrita. And at the same state of deep sleep, there is a light. But light is unmanifest. We are not able to be conscious of, because there is nothing to illumine. It is only the absence of BMI, PFT, OET that is illumined. presence and absence. So the presence in the dream and waking, and absence in the deep sleep state of all the things that we experience in the waking and dream. That is absent. So this is only illumined in the deep sleep state as far as the Prakriti is concerned. As far as the Purusha is concerned, the Purusha here is the pure, changeless, witness consciousness. Pure because without conditioning, changeless because it does not change like the BMI, PFT, and witness because it is not involved in the activities of this. So this is the nature. This we come to know from Shastra and the teacher. So this we need to here consider in understanding our true nature. Our true nature is not vasanas. Our true nature is the witness consciousness. So this kind of discriminative analysis is presented here. And navikaroti, na liyate, these are repeated. Actually, right from the beginning, here and there, the terms are repeated. Therefore, there is nothing new in this particular word. Only now the difference between the Eastern philosophy in general and that of Vedanta philosophy in particular, and against the Western philosophy. Western philosophy is based on waking state, whereas we consider all the three states. And that is most important, where in the deep sleep state, when we wake up and we consider about the conditions of the deep sleep state, then it gives us the clue for why and wherefore of this world of OET, and why and wherefore of this self, which is available as consciousness. So this, therefore, the deep sleep state is a very, very important state for our observation. Now the individual himself goes to sleep. Therefore, there is no chance for him to observe what is deep sleep, etc. Only he experiences. He experiences a sense of relaxation, experiences a sense of happiness, but that also he recalls as a memory, and we know that memorizer and the experiencer must be one and the same. One who has experience only can memorize. So I can memorize my experiences. You can memorize your experiences, not that I can memorize your experiences. So this being the case, here the getting up from the sleep, he comes to recall the experience of the sleep, and he says, I had a very sound sleep, nice sleep, I enjoyed the sleep. All these descriptions only indicate some kind of ignorance on his part about what exactly it is. And here Shastra and the teacher expound that there is a presence of the pure light of witness consciousness. So therefore, the deep sleep state, as you have highlighted here, we need to go into the details of this, and the details are available in the scriptures, and whatever we have given in this verse is adequate enough for us to discriminate or think about our true nature. So that which keeps on the waking state comes, waking state goes. The dream state comes, dream state goes. The deep sleep state comes, deep sleep state goes. Again back to dream state and to waking state. The coming and going itself indicates it's not real. Always the greatest principle described in Gita, 16th verse of 2nd chapter, Nasato vidyate bhavaha, is very, very important for this in our analysis. So in this discriminative analysis, we need to know what is present in the deep sleep state, what is absent. What is absent is BMI, PFT, OET is absent, and what is present is the light of consciousness. So this we need to think and meditate. When when we are with ourselves, we can meditate this and try to practice first by watching the thought and allowing the thought to go without encouraging, so that a mind will reach the state of thoughtlessness. So when it reaches the state of thoughtlessness, it is similar to, not same as deep sleep, but it is similar to deep sleep where we are putting mind to sleep. And when mind is put up to sleep, all the fourfold modifications of mind like mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankara, etc. is put to sleep. Therefore, then that what is present is something which is not subject to change. In spite of the presence and absence of BMI, PFT, OET, the consciousness is present because we are conscious of the presence and absence of the things of the world, BMI or OET. So this is possible only when we concern about the deep sleep state and we see how the gross manifestation goes to thought form and thought form gets obliterated into the silence. There is an absent, unmanifest. This is, since it is going on and off, therefore this Prakriti aspect is mithya. This is one aspect. And the reality aspect, if we see that which is not subject to change, how we are conscious of the waking world, we are conscious of the dream world, we are conscious of their absence in the deep sleep world, and again we are back to the waking state through dream. So this kind of coming and going indicates that they are unreal. We have got the definitely the checkpoint here with the help of that stanza we referred. And then we have to see that the one who knows that the BMI, PFT, OET is manifest, is unmanifest, is not subject to change. One, Saroja, please mute. One who is able to recognize the change of state, change of presence and absence, is the one who is not subject to change. Only a changeless can recognize the change. The changing phenomena is not conscious. It is dynamic, but it's not aware or conscious of it. Whereas the individual is existent, conscious, dynamic being. See this, the being is the Purusha, and he is first. That existent Purusha continues to exist through all the three states. Then the light of consciousness, which is its nature of the Purusha. The Purusha is the light of consciousness, and Prakriti is all the rest from Vasana down the line to the world of OET. So the Prakriti and Purusha are, again, we can find it within ourselves. So the unmanifest Prakriti becomes manifest, back to unmanifest. So avyakta-dini bhutani vyakta-madhyani bharata avyakta-nidananyeva tatra ka paridevana. In the beginning, all these beings were unmanifest. In the middle, they become manifest. Again, they go back to become unmanifest. There is no question of grieving over it. It's a phenomenon that we have observed. And the one who is able to observe this change is the one who is not subject to change. This is last word on the deep sleep state. Now, I am able to recall the experience of the deep sleep state, that it was all relaxed for me. It was all end of all the tiresome fatigue. This is my experience. Lastly, we have to say that the experience is not knowledge. Though it is our experience, we need to know properly what is it all about. Deep sleep state, and then in Mandukya, Acharya has called it Maya Sankhya Turiyam. The fourth state is because we are counting Maya states of waking, dream and deep sleep. Therefore, it is called fourth. Otherwise, that is the only state which is lasting, not subject to loss, not subject to change. So, na vikaroti, na liyate. That is the only state. So, this needs to be, we need to concentrate. Now, in meditation, how can we do that? We have to end the thought, discourage, don't show any interest. Watch the thought is the instruction. So when watching the thought will be after some time go for the good, will not return. And like this, when the mind becomes free from thought in the waking state at the seat of meditation, there we are expected to be aware of our nature as awareness, the light of awareness. That it is light of awareness in which I am aware of the presence and absence of Prakriti. So this is the entire thing that we can reflect on with the help of this verse 134. Now we are repeated cycle now itself. So now I ask you still if there is anything. Otherwise, we can conclude this first session with this word. Yes. As such, we are meeting after 2 months. That is first thing. So the freshness of the ideas, though we have satsangs in between, but not exactly the point that we are discussing in this text. Now and then they may be touched in our other satsangas. But here, what particularly a line of thinking that is drawn up here with reference to a given topic, the self, its nature. These are topics are all you can say entitled by our Swamiji in the Vivek Chudamani. So we are following those topics. So the verses have been grouped under given topics. So now we are having only last verse balance, which we will discuss in the second session.
So regarding this deep sleep, if I consider some situation where I am actor and I'm actor, my role is of beggar, and in reality I am a rich person. So in that drama I may be begging, but in the back of my mind I know that I have sufficient to sustain myself. So I will not be disturbed because of that begging.
Right.
So on the same line, without meditation also, if deep sleep is my own experience, then why not depend on deep sleep for those experiences, and why go for this meditation? Is it not a shortcut? Even if I remember my experience in deep sleep, that whatever happens in my daily life, I know that phase will come when I will be going back to deep sleep. So this meditation.
No, but deep sleep is not on our control. Point is, suppose if you say that deep sleep is able to reveal all these ideas, and I want to continue deep sleep, I will not be able to continue. After certain time, we will not get sleep. Once sleep is over, it is over. We cannot fall back to deep sleep. Whereas we can deliberately come back to a similar condition in the waking state where I am conscious. My equipments are active, and then I can consciously experience my true nature. Whereas in the deep sleep state, it is unconsciously experienced. And because it is unconsciously experienced, I am not able to get the clear idea about it. Because all my equipments are...
Yes, this is just because we are giving importance to the person. That person in me, that I want to know this when I am conscious. But when I am in deep sleep, why call it unconscious? Because I am experiencing. I am recalling, I am experiencing. So why give? Because this question is because meditation is a long process and it takes time, and we don't have time. Right? We don't have time for meditation and to go again back to the deep sleep state only, which we are experiencing daily.
So
if I can remember this deep sleep experience throughout the 12, 16 hours of my waking state, will it not make my mind peaceful?
But how do you recall your deep sleep experience? It is actually Mr. Individual, PFT, I was absent. The sense of individuality, Jiva, was only going through all these three states and gathering his experiences. But the waker, dreamer, deep sleeper are not aware of it. Waker doesn't know what happened in the dream state. Waker doesn't know the dreamer. Waker himself has become the dreamer. Dreamer himself has become the deep sleeper. So they keep on changing their roles. But the individual behind them all is one. That Jivahood is one. And that individual goes through all the threefold experiences in the three states, right? So these individual experiences, that's why we say it is not knowledge. Experience is not knowledge. No, that's the difference. A feeling a sense of relaxation, a rest, etc., is not the knowledge. What is exactly at that? Absence of this is not the reality. There is a reality which is ever present in all the three states. We are not able to recognize it because, like a sunlit wall, it is generally illumined, and our ego entities, ego and mind association, they have a special bright patches. So we are not able to recognize the general illumination. Similarly, here the pure consciousness, which is common in all the three states, we are not able to recognize in the waking state. How do we recognize that pure consciousness? So we have to put the machinery off for the time being. Now, the waves on the ocean, we cannot have the condition where all waves are subsided and we have only a perfect line. It's very difficult. Without waves, we cannot imagine the ocean. But here, intelligently, we can deliberately bring the whole machinery to a standstill for a moment and try to feel what is present there. So this presence of consciousness is felt only when all machinery is put off. But I am not asleep, I am awake. In the deep sleep state, the fellow is asleep. In the deep sleep, in the waking state, the seeker is awake and is only putting off his machinery. That means withdrawing the sense organs and the body from the outer world, then withdrawing the thought. And likewise, in the waking state, he is simulating the conditions of the deep sleep, but not the deep sleep exactly. Simulating, because there also the BMI are in the potential form, seed form. Here also, when I am putting up the machinery, the power is on, but it is not functioning. The equipment is not functioning. Now, this condition can be similar condition like deep sleep, but not the deep sleep. Not same as deep sleep, but similar. We bring it in the waking state, and there what we experience, we can recall it really, because what is the condition there at the state of meditation? We can become awareful of that throughout the day whenever we get a free time. It's not necessary to remember, but whenever we get free time, if we fall back to that experience at the seat of meditation, then definitely that is most important. Recently, the Tapon Maharaj has given this state to all grihasthas that say, whenever you get free time, you discriminate between what is real and what is unreal. This is Tapon Maharaj's advice to grihasthas. You continue your duties and responsibilities, all right. Whenever you get time, fall back to this discrimination. What is real and what is unreal? What is changing, what is changeless? So these aspects are possibly consciously experienced or known. We use the word known instead of experience at the seat of meditation, whereas in the deep sleep there is no such a scope for individual to know consciously. Unwittingly, unconsciously, he goes through that experience of deep sleep and recalls in the morning. But that recalling, what is exactly the positive experience is not able to be recalled. Whereas in the waking state, when the seeker is awake, he is conscious, and he is conscious of the earlier mind which was thinking or something or the other, and now the mind which is free from thought. These conditions, when he brings about, then the light will shine of its own accord, because the mind is not asleep. Mind is free from thought. The medium is available for consciousness to manifest, and there I am awake, and therefore I will be aware of my true condition without reference to BMI, PFT, or it. Therefore, the meditation is required, and it is bound to take time, because for millions and trillions of years we have been through different manifestations. We have been living a life of BMI. I mean, the life of conditioned living. We have been going through life, seeking our food, our security, our comfort, our happiness, right from very many lives of different kinds. Now that we have been given to understand by scripture or teacher that there is such a state, that is our true nature, that is our own state. Therefore, now it is a time, because of the intellect we can achieve this feat, and that is the appeal from the scripture and teacher. We'll continue our discussion in the next session, and we'll come back again.
मेरा सत-चित आनंद रूप कोई कोई जाने रे, मेरा सत-चित आनंद रूप कोई कोई जाने रे, जाने रे कोई जाने रे, जाने रे कोई जाने रे, मेरा सत-चित आनंद रूप कोई कोई जाने रे। पंचकोश से मैं हूँ न्यारा, पंचकोश से मैं हूँ न्यारा, तीन गुणों से मैं हूँ न्यारा, तीन गुणों से मैं हूँ न्यारा, मैं हूँ साक्षी स्वरूप कोई कोई जाने रे, मैं हूँ साक्षी स्वरूप कोई कोई जाने रे, मेरा सत-चित आनंद रूप कोई कोई जाने रे। जन्म मरण मेरा धर्म नहीं है, जन्म मरण मेरा धर्म नहीं है, पाप पुण्य मेरा कर्म नहीं है, पाप पुण्य मेरा कर्म नहीं है, मैं हूँ पूर्ण स्वरूप कोई कोई जाने रे, मैं हूँ पूर्ण स्वरूप कोई कोई जाने रे, मेरा सत-चित आनंद रूप कोई कोई जाने रे। सूर्य चंद्र में तेज है मेरा, सूर्य चंद्र में तेज है मेरा, अग्नि में भी ओज है मेरा, अग्नि में भी ओज है मेरा, मैं हूँ ज्योति स्वरूप कोई कोई जाने रे, मैं हूँ ज्योति स्वरूप कोई कोई जाने रे, मेरा सत-चित आनंद रूप कोई कोई जाने रे। तीन लोक का मैं हूँ स्वामी, तीन लोक का मैं हूँ स्वामी, घट घट व्यापक अंतर्यामी, घट घट व्यापक अंतर्यामी, जो माला में सूत कोई कोई जाने रे, जो माला में सूत कोई कोई जाने रे। मेरा सत-चित आनंद रूप कोई कोई जाने रे। ईश्वर प्रचिति मुझे ही जानो, ईश्वर प्रचिति मुझे ही जानो, जीव ब्रह्म में भेद न मानो, जीव ब्रह्म में भेद न मानो, मैं अद्वैत स्वरूप कोई कोई जाने रे, मैं अद्वैत स्वरूप कोई कोई जाने रे। मेरा सत-चित आनंद रूप कोई कोई जाने रे, जाने रे कोई जाने रे, जाने रे कोई जाने रे। मेरा सत-चित आनंद रूप कोई कोई जाने रे, मेरा सत-चित आनंद रूप कोई कोई जाने रे।
Yes.
स्मरामि हृदि संस्फुरदात्मतत्त्वम्, सच्चित् सुखं परमहंसगतिं तुरीयम्, यत् स्वप्नजागरसुषुप्तमवैति नित्यम्, तद्ब्रह्म निष्कलमहं न च भूतसङ्घः।
So in the last session, we have covered the reflections on 134, and it was stopped before time. Now we are in the second session, but again, before taking up 135, in case still there is anything to be discussed, we can continue. Last session we had discussion on more concern or concentrated on deep sleep experience, and we thought that to experience something unwittingly and to experience it wittingly, there is a difference. When we experience it, it has got an effect or impact on us. Unknowingly, as in the deep sleep, whatever we experience, in fact, it is wiped out clean the moment we wake up and we get engaged into the daily business. So here, at the seat of meditation, we thought that there is a deliberate attempt on the part to, so to say, to stop all the machinery, and in the not allowing any new thought. When the new thought doesn't rise, and how will it go? So it will depend upon what level we are reflecting. So the level of, we have accessible level of Chidabhas, which is not accessible in the deep sleep state. We have got next accessible level as pure consciousness, witness, which is there in the deep sleep state, but we are not conscious about it. Here, there is a scope. At the seat of meditation, when we want to reach this state, we have to discourage the thought. Any new thought, when trying to rise, either we will negate it or we will look at it in such a manner as we are not interested. The moment we show our disinterest, thought does not have capacity to survive there. Moment we express the interest, oh, it is interesting, when we say, the thought gains strength from us only. Okay, and then the thought will go its own way according to the content, that is vasana. The thought will express itself into action. So this is what we have seen, that knowingly and unknowingly, wittingly, unwittingly, whatever we experience unknowingly in the deep sleep state can be brought about to our consciousness at the state of waking and in meditation. So the attempt at meditation would be to end the thought. How do we end the thought? What's the point? So now, starting our reflection on the nature of pure witness consciousness is the beginning. Then Madatma Sarva Bhutatma is the next level, where the consciousness in me is consciousness everywhere. Sarva Bhutatma means it is the consciousness or inner self in all the living beings. So when we become that vast as all the living beings, then staying there will reveal to us that this is the universal witness consciousness. Now, as we are rising in these levels, the thoughts stops coming. The level of thoughts also stops coming. The gross thought will never come. These subtle ideas may disturb us, but that we are discouraging by not showing interest in it. So likewise, as our reflection or meditation goes to the subtler level, to that extent, the kind of thoughts get dropped. They don't rise because they are not encouraged. The atmosphere doesn't encourage them to appear. And thus, the last one is our state of awareness. So this infinite light of awareness is the state where the Prakriti goes in unmanifest form. It's in our return journey. Earlier, what was Brahman and what was Jnanamayam Brahma, Brahman with pure knowledge, remains pure even as the state of awareness, because there it becomes manifest as light, meaning the one being becomes awareful. And at that moment, there is no Prakriti, Avyakrita. But because of this manifest condition of pure knowledge as awareness, this manifest condition is capitalized by the vasanas, total vasanas, and they are stirred. Then this is called the Vikriti part starts. Prakriti Trigunatmika. In balance, it is in balance, then it is unmanifest. When balance is disturbed, it is manifest. Moment it manifests, then the description goes, Tasmat etasmat va akasha sambhutam. Akashat vayuhu vayor agnihi agnairapaha adhyat prithvi. This is Vikruti. First is Prakriti, Trigunatmika Prakriti. Before that, it is only pure knowledge as inherent power of Brahman. These levels, as we go back to the subtler levels, the earlier kind of thoughts get dropped. And thus we have a bare minimum thought. That thought is, I alone am. The thought of I-ness. This thought of I-ness also belongs to only Maya. It is because of the presence of Maya in Brahman that Brahman becomes awareful and says Aham Brahma. So the Aham starts with Maya. It should end with Maya. Therefore, this moment that I amness goes off, one becomes Brahman. So the difference between Brahman and the awareful being or Purusha is this, that the Aham sense is incorporated in the later stage. In Brahman, there is no I amness also. So I amness comes because of the Maya in Brahman. And therefore, Upanishad also can start defining only at that level, not before that. So, Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma was something which was defined by the Upanishad. So, Satyam, Jnanam means the eternal existence and infinite knowledge. These are the levels where the Upanishad try to indicate the definition. And thereafterwards, the Prakriti or the nature starts manifesting. The balance is disturbed between three gunas, and then the Pancha Mahabhutas start. This is Vikriti, and that is where we are now beginning the 135th verse, which starts with Prakriti and Vikriti. See here now. We are connected to the earlier session also, connected to the earlier verse also, and now finally concluding about the nature of Paramatma, the Supreme Self. In Supreme Self, it is one without a second. Whereas Antaratma, there are as many jivas, so many Antaratmas. But this multiplicity is only imaginary because of the consideration of Upadhi. Now let us see 135th, the last verse in this topic. प्रकृति विकृति भिन्न शुद्ध बोध स्वभावः सदसदिदमशेषं भासयन् निर्विशेषः विलसति परमात्मा जाग्रदादिष्वस्था स्वहमहमिति साक्षात् साक्षिरूपेण बुद्धेः प्रकृति विकृति भिन्न शुद्ध बोध स्वभावः सदसदिदमशेषं भासयन् निर्विशेषः विलसति परमात्मा जाग्रदादिष्वस्था स्वहमहमिति साक्षात् साक्षिरूपेण बुद्धेः this is Paramatma Vilasati. The main sentence is this, Paramatma Vilasati. And that is where the Supreme Self is actually Vilasati Vilasaha. The Vilasaha is the glory of the Self. The glory of the Supreme Self is this, that itself, it is different than Prakriti and Vikriti. Prakriti, Vikriti, Bhinnaha. Prakriti, when we say it is Trigunatmika, when it is in balance, it is called balanced Prakriti, there it is unmanifest. When the balance is disturbed, then first it becomes the pure Sattva, then it becomes Malina Sattva by the rise of Rajas and Tamas. Likewise, three gunas are manifest. Now these three gunas gives rise to the expansion or modification of space. So from the space is air, from the air the fire, from the fire the water, and lastly to the earth. So five great elements in their subtle forms constitute the subtle body, like Ishvaraha and Hiranyagarbha. When it comes to total mind level, the projection starts at the level of Hiranyagarbha. So that is called, whether you call it Brahmaji, you call it Ishvara, it is that level where the projection of concepts start. And that also we have seen recently in the verse when it is Yena Ishita Vagasavascharanti. 131 verse says, Yena Ishita. Yena Ishita, motivated by whom? Yena Ishita. He wills. Because of his will, it happens. So, likewise here, the Prakriti in its unmanifest form is called, that is a balanced Prakriti. There is a term, technical term, Guna Samya Sthiti. Guna Samya Sthiti is a state where all the three gunas are in balance. So this is the called Avyakrita, unmanifest Prakriti. Because there is no chance for Prakriti to manifest. All the three gunas are balanced. So there is no advent or accent of any particular guna. Then that balance is disturbed. How the balance is disturbed? Because of that pure knowledge which was manifest has now become manifest light of infinite awareness. Now when it becomes manifest, then the other manifest, which is balanced gunas, Prakriti, start modifying. So after Prakriti, the word comes Vikriti. Prakriti, Vikriti. But Paramatma, which is the name given with reference to Prakriti, Avyakrita, is actually Brahman with its pure knowledge. So now, because of the presence of light of awareness, the totality of vasanas, total vasanas, they get the strength from the light of awareness and starts manifesting. So the gunas get disturbed. Then first guna that appears is Shuddha Sattva. Then there is an advent of Vayu. Then it becomes Malina Sattva. And the Maya on its own nature is ignorance, avidya. So this aspect, Malina Sattva incorporates in it the tamasic and rajasic aspect. Then the movement starts because of rajas. So then Vayu, Akashat Vayu, Vayor Agni, etc. This state of process of grossification starts until at last it comes to the earth. And accordingly, their attributes are also or qualities or properties of also keep on increasing. If the sound is the only property of space, then in air inherits the space property of sound plus the touch. Similarly, in the case of Agni, next, apart from these two properties inherit from earlier element, then it gets also the form. So likewise, the earth has all the four properties inherent, and the fifth one is Gandha, Gandhavati Prithvi. So likewise, the Vikruti has come to the level of Prakriti, level of earth. So Prakriti, Vikriti, Bhinna. Now our concern is not to describe Prakriti or Vikriti. Our concern is to know the nature of the self. And for that, the Paramatma is the topic of discussion. So Paramatma, Prakriti, Vikriti, Bhinnaha, all these are now adjectives of Paramatma. That which is different from Prakriti and its modification. Shuddha Bodha Swabhavaha. It is of the nature of pure knowledge. Now pure knowledge has with Brahman inherent power, remains as pure knowledge at the level of pure the awareness. But Pure awareness is a name given to it with reference to the potential unmanifest of Vyakrita Prakriti. Otherwise, when that Prakriti aspect is not referred, Paramatma becomes Brahman. And the awareness goes back to become unmanifest pure knowledge as inseparable part of Brahman. So this is levels we have to see how we come down and how we can get back. So here the Maya reflects Brahman, then Brahman becomes Paramatma. In that Maya, the Prakriti is unmanifest. But because the Paramatman is a manifest form, therefore the Prakriti starts manifesting. The balance is disturbed. And then Shuddha Sattva Maya, Malina Sattva Maya. Shuddha Sattva Maya doesn't have much scope, so it is restricted to God principles. All deities and all phenomenal powers, their source is represented in that. In nature, it is all sattvic. Nature is by virtue of being sattvic. Therefore, it does not create any modifications in our mind. Even the mountain is crooked in its mountain top. Mountain tops are like that with a different forms, etc. It doesn't create any vikrutis in our mind. We are comfortable in the lap of nature, whether with mountains, with greenery, or with a lake or flowing river. With all these natural surroundings, we are comfortable and we do not get any modification. This is the beauty of nature. So Prakriti and Vikruti does not create modifications in our mind. But later on, when the body is born as a Panchikarana process, mixing up of these equipment with a definite proportion, this Panchikarana process is a key point where it starts grossifying. So we get the gross body as the result of Panchikarana. Before Panchikaran, we get the subtle body as the result of all the subtle elements. So with the gross body and subtle body, when the gross body is born, then the subtle body can find opportunity to manifest itself further. The vasanas have come up to the level of subtle body, there we can have the desires and restlessness. And when the body is born, when the body is further developed, then the subtle body gets an opportunity to express itself. Thus, the process of expression to full grossification is complete when the body is born. Now body grows. It is followed by all the vikaras. So Prakriti, Vikruti. Prakriti we can take it up as 3 gunas. Vikruti with the help of 5 great elements. 3 gunas plus 5 great elements becomes Ashtadha Prakriti, 8-fold nature. And with this, our body once born, then the subtle body becomes manifest, and Paramatma is totally different from all these processes. Prakriti Vikruti Bhinna, Shuddha Bodha Swabhavaha, the nature of pure knowledge, whether at the level of Brahman or at the level of Paramatma, it is same. Only this pure knowledge, in case of Paramatma, it is described as infinite light of infinite awareness. Now here it is eternal existence. So the nearest term for eternal existence is infinite. Because in both cases, there is no scope for any limited thing. It's all limitless. Whether it is eternal existence or infinite awareness, in both cases, there is no scope for any limitation, basically. Then comes the Prakriti aspect of it. This Prakriti is not different from earlier Maya. That's what Shvetashvatara Upanishad says. Mayam tu Prakritim, Mayam tu Prakritim Vidhi, Mayinam tu Maheshwaram. Now this point will come in our Dakshinamurti also, as we are discussing second stanza. So Maya Viva Vijrumbayati is the description in the second verse of Dakshinamurti. So as though the Mayavi or juggler or Mahayogi like Vishwamitra, Vijrumbayati creates the form. So the starting point of projection of Prakriti or the universe is Paramatma in general, and that of his nature as awareness in particular. That is the starting point of Prakriti. And there it is unmanifest, then it becomes manifest. When it becomes manifest, the awareness becomes consciousness, illuminating all. So this is next level. Now this manifestation, illumination of all that is created, some rays of illumination enter our individual equipment, that is intellect, which is the specialty of man. And there it reflects as conditioned consciousness. So up to conditioned consciousness, everything is reality or the truth in levels. So this is the point where the jiva has to come back to minimum. Now here the wording goes like this: Shuddha Bodha Swabhavaha is the next level. Prakriti Vikriti Bhinnaha, there is an absence of three gunas and absence of five great elements. Therefore, that Prakriti, Vikriti, all different from all these is Paramatma. This is one adjective of Paramatma. What is that? Prakriti, Vikriti, Bhinnaha, Paramatma. Then the next one is Shuddha Bodha Swabhavaha. It is of the nature of pure knowledge, whether it is with Brahman or with the Paramatma. It is pure knowledge. Till the Avyakrita becomes Vyakrita. Till unmanifest Prakriti becomes manifest, the Paramatma and Brahman, there is no difference. When it starts manifesting, then with reference to manifest equipment or manifest conditioning, the awareness becomes consciousness, illumining and witnessing. So the witness aspect comes at the level of consciousness. In awareness, there is nothing like witnessing, because there is no object to be witnessed. So this is the next level where the Prakriti is now manifest, which is illumined by pure consciousness, and consciousness also, it functions as a witness, not involved in what Prakriti is manifesting. So this is the next. Now the third level is Sadidam Ashesham. Ashesham, Sat, Asat, Idam, Ashesham. This is a split. Sat in the real, Asat, unreal, Ashesham, and the rest all. Thereafterwards, no detailing, not required. For Paramatma is concerned, you need to identify Paramatma, you can identify up to Sad Asat Vishesham. Now, if you are with me, please try to guess what is Sat and what is Asat. Two levels already crossed. Brahman with pure knowledge as unmanifest. Brahman with manifest pure knowledge as light of infinite awareness. Light of infinite awareness as manifest, then the Prakriti gets chance to manifest. So Avyakrit becomes Vyakrit. When it becomes Vyakrit, the awareness becomes consciousness, the light illumining all and only witnessing. Therefore, it is called the pure universal witness consciousness. Okay. From that, a ray of light ray of consciousness enters our being, our body, and there it reflects in the intellect. Okay. Now at this level, it is explained as Sadasad idam ashesham. Idam ashesham. This balance all is what? Sadasad. Now what is Sat in this? Don't be in a hurry.
Prakriti is Asat, and pure knowledge or Brahman is Sat.
No, pure knowledge and all, you can't go back.
Prakriti.
Already we have with a universal witness consciousness as representative of Brahman.
Yes.
And the illumination of Prakriti, which is now gone through Panchikarana, etc., and has become the universe. Okay. Universal witness consciousness. That is the status of Paramatma.
Yes.
Now, okay. Now, next status is its appearance in the individual. Clue number 1. And that is described here as Sat, Asat, Idam, Ashesham. Idam, this, Ashesham, balance all.
So it reflects in the intellect. So intellect onward is a Prakriti.
Okay. And what happens to awareness and consciousness?
The consciousness is pure consciousness.
No.
Because the ray of pure consciousness only reflects in the intellect.
So that ray of consciousness is not different from the universal consciousness. Agree?
Yes.
It's all entire light only. The
Yes.
pencil of light comes inside. That is also, it is not different from the universal consciousness.
Yes.
Now, what is Sadasat Ashesham? Idam Ashesham Sat Asat. Balance all. Is this, in this also there is Sat and Asat. This is another, this word will complete this line. Bhasayan nirvisheshaha. Swayam nirvisheshaha. Sad asat idam ashesham bhasayan. Himself common, simple, but illumining Sat as well as Asat under rest. Sat Asat idam ashesham.
It illumines the ignorance also in the intellect.
Pure
In
consciousness.
the individual.
Okay. No, but if pure ignorance means only when I say I know that I don't know. That is all. Pure consciousness, pure light of consciousness illumines the ignorance. Up to this is all right. But ignorance becomes unmanifest.
Yes.
Unmanifest is manifest light, all pervading light of universal consciousness illumines unmanifest ignorance. Okay.
Yes.
Now the unmanifest ignorance becomes manifest because of this presence of the ray of light of pure consciousness. Right?
Yes.
So far so good.
Yes.
Now it is said idam ashesham sadasat. So what is Sat in this? 2 clues are given. Now it must be very much relevant.
So that means the Vasna.
Huh? Wait. Dr. Baba.
Chaitanya is Sat. Everything
What is
else.
the other name for Chaitanya? Synonymous. No. Don't give a general term. Now already we have used pure consciousness. Now you want to use impure consciousness? You can use it, but there is another term for that. Clue number 3.
Chidabhasa? No.
Right. Chidabhasa in us is Sat. And Vasana down the line, everything is Asat. Now, Om will assume different status. Chidabhas, pure consciousness, universal witness consciousness, infinite awareness, and pure knowledge. These are all levels up. Now, idam. See, again, recall 13th chapter of Gita we have recently completed in Shantika Satsanga. So, in idam shariram kaunteya, in this body, okay, and in that, the Chetana and Dhruti were the last two words which are included in Kshetram. Kshetrajna is left apart. But in Kshetram itself means idam. Idam means this field, Kshetram. Okay, and in this field there are some 7-8 names listed. The last two being Chetana and Dhruti. So this Chetana word is used for Chidabhas or Chaitanya. So Chetana is used because incoming is the pure light of consciousness. Reflecting in the intellect, it becomes reflected consciousness or conditioned consciousness. This has to be clear. So here that conditioned consciousness, reflected consciousness is referred as pure consciousness. There is nothing new. It is already there everywhere. So some ray has entered in, that also retained its purity. But when it reflects in the intellect, then the reflected consciousness there is called Sat, because that is the only thing that is Sat, meaning it provides a link for the ultimate truth. From that Sat onward, we can get the link up to the end. And in this very body, idam shariram kaunteya kshetramityavidiyate, and in idam shariram, all these inside are there. The sense organs, the prana, the mind, intellect, up to this. Then Chetana. Dhrutihi is the quality of the intellect. Dhrutihi, Dhairyam, is the quality of the intellect. And Chetana is a reflection of your consciousness, called as Chidabhas, Chaitanya, etc. Chaitanya, when you say consciousness, it is an abstract noun. So the knowledge becomes consciousness. It's only a sense thereof, not the substance. So the light of awareness, light of consciousness are manifest forms of pure knowledge, which is unmanifest with Brahman as inherent power. The power is not manifest unless there is some opportunity. Like a wrestler, let us say, like a wrestler, there is a competition match between two wrestlers. So long as the wrestler is alone, his capacity to wrestle remains unmanifest. But moment he is brought to the ground and he sees his rival, another wrestler, then that capacity or that his power of wrestling becomes manifest. Seeing the opponent, it becomes manifest, and then he starts wrestling. Then that capacity becomes manifest. Okay. Similarly, here also, so long as it is unmanifest, universal light of consciousness becomes further grossified in the intellect as Chidabhas. Then in this BMI complex, Chidabhas is the only Sat, because it has origin to the Sat, not itself Sat. Chidabhas itself disappears moment the waking state is transcended into dream and deep sleep. Chidabhas disappears because the equipment are defunct. They cease functioning. But point here is that Chidabhas in the waking state, if our attention is drawn to that, then that becomes a link to go up to the end. Therefore, that is the only Sat aspect in BMI complex. In this chart, if you see, the Om represents that. Om represents various levels. Chidabhas level at Sat, then universal witness consciousness at Sarva Sakshi, and then the infinite awareness where there is no Prakriti, nothing to be aware of, but there is awareness. Capacity, potential is there to be aware of. So that makes the vasana avyakrita to become manifest. And before that, it is the unmanifest pure knowledge in Brahman. So all these upper links are available only at Chidabhas. Now to draw our attention to Chidabhas itself is a big practice or spiritual practice. To withdraw our attention, not all the time, whenever the time permits, a free time, a leisure time. At a leisure time, just bring in what is Sat and what is Asat. I'll post this message of Swami Tapan Maharaj to all Grahasthas. He says, do all your duties, whatever you are supposed to do with a given role. But whenever you find time, always think of what is real and what is unreal. That is his message for Grahasthas. So Sat-Chit-Ananda, this is the exactly term suggests here. Chidabhas is Sat in us and Asat is Vasana down the line to the word of OET is all Asat. This is a complex. This is a combination of Sat. Very rare. But it's only found in man. In all other cases, they don't have any idea about the world and all that. They only action, reaction, mechanically going on. I'm conscious of the outer world. I'm conscious of the inner world of thoughts and emotions, and I'm self-conscious. This is a great evolutionary level that we got in human life. And here, that I am conscious because of this Chidabhas in the waking state. Chidabhas it is that illumines all the thoughts and emotions in my inner world. It goes up to the mind and enlivens the mind being the leader of all sense organs. Indriyanam Raja, Indraha. So mind is like a king controlling all the sense organs. When mind is illumined, then all the faculties of sense organs which are located in the mind, they are also activated. Then the eyes, when open, they can see something. The child's eyes are also open, but it doesn't know anything unless we introduce. Therefore, this coming down to the level of perception at the body level and action, reaction, up to this level, we are all the time preoccupied with either in the outer world or when there is nothing to be done, then the daydreaming starts. And we have imaginations and wonder dreams. But whenever we get the leisure, the scriptures and the teacher draws our attention. Don't waste your time in daydreaming. Instead, think what is real and what is unreal. What is that which stands all the three states of consciousness or three states due to upadhi? Presence of body mind, waking state. Presence of only mind, dream state. Absence of both, deep sleep state. So related to upadhi are the states. Consciousness manifests accordingly. But it becomes unmanifest in the level of deep sleep because body mind are unmanifest, avyakrita. So at that level, there is pure consciousness witnessing presence and absence. We are starting with Chidabhas. So whenever you get spare time, think that what is lasting in even the waking state. In the waking state, the objects come and go. In the waking state, the emotions rise and fall. In the waking state, the thought rises and goes away, giving rise to another thought. And we are all preoccupied with either the drishya, the scene, perception, or feeling, or resolve, or thinking, or decision, understanding, etc. We are all preoccupied with all these equipments and their functions. Now there is no time to stand and wait. That's leisure time. If you get leisure, and one gets leisure definitely, but he doesn't know, and that leisure time also he preoccupies with something to be done in future or something which he has already done, and would wonder what would happen now, how will it result, and all that. So because of the preoccupation, our preoccupation, we have no opportunity. But the scriptures and the teachers awakens us and say, please make use of this spare time. What is changing and what is not changing in this BMI complex? So BMI are subject to change. Perception, feeling, thought subject to change. The world of OET subject to change. But the one who knows that they are subject to change itself is free from change, and that is the light of Chidabhas. It is so long as the waking state is there, continuously light is on. Whether the objects are present or absent, whether they keep on changing in their kaleidoscopic patterns of circumstances, whether there are moods of mind changing from good, bad, indifferent, whether there is an understanding, misunderstanding, or ununderstanding at the intellectual level, all this keeps on going and Prakriti keeps us busy. See the matter. Here the important thing is Prakriti is managed to keep the jiva busy and preoccupied so that the Prakriti can play its game and the jiva will continuously hooked up to this game. Now, who is playing the game? The hidden total mind is playing the game. It is the mind's projection, mental projection. The total mind is playing the game. It has started, and the whole world is a field for it, and in which we are also one of the jivas are also a part of the game. Now, this, in order to know this, we need to discriminate between what is changing, what is not changing. So that during the waking state, it is the light of conditioned consciousness, Chidabhas, which keeps illuminating all through the equipment, body, mind, intellect. And that also gives rise to a sense of ego. So the one which illumines, Bhasayan, which illumines, and this must be the ray of pure consciousness, which illumines what? Illumines Chidabhas as well as the BMI complex. Is it not? Chidabhas is reflection. Even reflection is also illumined by that. Now, this is so subtle thought. First of all, to be aware of the Chidabhas, and then that Chidabhas being a reflection, the reflection is also illuminated by the reflected. For Sad, Asad, Idam, Ashesham, Bhasayan, illumining all that is real and unreal, under rest. Under rest means what? It's all going up to the whatever universes you can think. Ananta Koti Brahmanda. This is what you can think of, open. There is a full freedom for you to think over all this. But himself, Nirvishesha, that which illumines all this, itself is very simple. That recently we have come across the terms that we have described it, Swamiji has described as the simple and unostentatious, Nirupadravi. It will not have any bother to others. It is itself a very simple. So the reality or even the reflection of that pure consciousness by itself is very simple. It is the light. And the light does not get attached to anything. It doesn't get mixed up with anything. It only illumines independently. So whether it illumines ignorance, whether it ignorance, it cannot as a reflection, it cannot illumine ignorance. That is the job of pure consciousness. And it illumines the desire, agitation, perceptions, and action. This is all illuminated in the waking state by Chidabhas. So this is the second line. Sad asad idam ashesham bhasayan swayam nirvisheshaha. There is nothing special about it, very simple, and it remains there. It does not become a source of bother or troublesome to anyone. Unostentatious. These two words are introduced recently in one of the commentary in our satsanga. Swamiji has introduced these two words. It is a very simple and unostentatious. You know where? Bhaja Govindam. Suramandira taru mula nivasaha. Sayya bhutalam. That person is so simple, unostentatious. He will not be any source of trouble to anyone. He is himself simple, and therefore he manages to go on with whatever is available. The sky has a ceiling, and the foliage of the greenery, etc., of the tree is false ceiling, and he is sleeping on the ground. Okay, he has no objection at all. He has no concern at all because he is already immersed in that bliss. So this is simple and unostentatious. These are the two terms used about that person. Tasya sukham na karoti viragaha. To whom this kind of dispassion doesn't give him or make him fall back to his endless joy is the content of that verse in Bhajagovindam we are discussing. So here also nirvisheshaha terms indicate that nothing special. It is simple. And at one stage, Swamiji has reminded, which we should keep in mind, truth is simple. But then, what is simplicity? Question mark. That is for us to reflect upon. What is simplicity? Is a matter of reflection and meditation. So here, sad asad idam ashesham asayan nirvisheshaha is the second line. So now in this we find how many adjectives? One is Paramatma is Prakriti Vikriti Vibhinnaha. Prakriti Vikriti Bhinnaha. Second is Shuddha Bodha Svabhavaha. Second qualification. Third is Sad Asad Idam Ashesham Bhasayan is third qualification or adjective of Paramatma. Nirvishesha, another one. Now, Vilasati. There is a glory of Paramatma. The Paramatma here revels. It is in his own glory, Vilasati, where Jagradadishu Avasthasu. Jagradadishu Avasthasu Vahmaham iti sakshat sakshi rupena. Who's Sakshi? Buddhehe Sakshi Rupena. Is a witness of the intellect. When it is said, rest all is included. Ashesham is included. He is a witness of Buddhi. And Buddhi is controlling the mind and the mind controlling sense organs, etc. That all follows, that he is all witness. But within the BMI complex, the Chidabhas is Chidabhas is witnessing or illumining the intellect. Then the intellect in terms of my mental aspect, and then the vital aspect, then the sense organs aspect, etc. So then it goes on step by step. It is step down transformer like. So the power of consciousness is limited according to the conditioning, and thus it comes to the level of sense object. But here it is said, Buddhehe. Buddhehe Sakshi Rupena Sakshat. Sakshat means directly, not via media. Chidabha directly illumines the intellect and the thoughts in the intellect. So this is Sakshi Rupena. And how? Aham iti. There is always a sense of I amness. So this I amness is there in the waking dream, deep sleep, in all conditions. I amness continues. Only what I am changes. That I am a waker, that I'm a dreamer, a deep sleeper, then a perceiver I, feeler I, thinker I. These I may keep changing, but the essential I as the Chidabhas or witness pure consciousness is something where we must reach through reflection and meditation. Once reach there, we get the upper link. It's a question of only withdrawal from the outer world, etc. For Grahasthas, Swamiji, our Paramaguru, advises only to think of what is real and what is unreal. That's all. And as the Grahasthashrama's responsibilities are reduced, our own children are standing on their own legs and we are independent in their earning livelihood, etc., then we should withdraw positively and concern only with this. What is that? This Sakshat Sakshi Rupena. Whether we can assume that role of a witness in us. So far, we have been assuming the role of a perceiver eye, feeler eye, thinker eye, and interacting with the world and doing a lot of things. Then, with reference to the presence and absence of upadhi, body, mind, intellect, we have the three states of waking, dream, and deep sleep. Waking, presence of body, mind. Dream, presence of only mind. And deep sleep, absence of body, mind. Simple. And this, as such, is the difference between that aham, which is constantly present in all the three states. Aham iti sakshat sakshi rupena. The nature of real aham, which is present in all the three states, is a witness consciousness. This is all related to, with reference to waking state, Chidabhas, and with reference to all the three states, pure ray of consciousness. This is all within us. Idam Shariram. In this very body, everything is there. So now it's a question of falling back to Chidabhas, which will not happen unless we have enough spare time. Till then, we should discuss what is real, what is unreal when we are in the passing through the stage of householding or grahasthashrama. So this is what is suggested as spiritual practice. Now in the childhood, we were given to chant bhajan, sing stotras, etc. All this was an introduction. They are not supposed to dwell over it and meaning and all that. At a particular time, bow before the Lord, prostrate, and chant or sing bhajans, chant stotras, etc. In the youth, we are encouraged to discuss what is this, what is the details of it, why and wherefore of it. They are encouraged to discuss on it. So they are not committing to anything. They are only trying to understand through discussions and reflection. Then they will come to know that there is some reality which is enduring. This is another word used by Swamiji, the enduring thing within us. That enduring thing during waking is Chidabhas, and during all the three states, waking, dream, deep sleep, is pure witness consciousness. And that is in the concluding line of this verse, Sakshi Rupena aham iti Jagradadishu avasthasu Sakshi Rupe Buddhehe Sakshi Rupena Vilasati. Vilasati. Paramatma Vilasati. Main sentence. Then all subordinate sentences are Paramatma, Prakriti Vikriti Bhinnaha, 1. Shuddha Bodha Swabhavaha, 2. Sadasadidamya Ashesham Bhasayan, 3. Nirvisheshaha, himself Nirvisheshaha, 4. Then Jagradadishu Avasthasu Aham Aham iti Sakshat Sakshi Rupena, Buddhehe Sakshi Rupena is a fifth. There are so 4-5 adjectives to Paramatma. Paramatma Vilasati. Paramatma rebels. It is his game going on. So he has no problem to absorb and size, etc. But it is the ignorant jiva who, the sense of jiva or sense of a person, vyakti, that feels with association with ego, he wants to be happy. He desires to be happy. Therefore, he entertains desire. Thereby, he invites agitation. And to seize the agitation, he fulfills the desire. So the game continuously going on, the jiva is stuck up to the game. And somebody else is playing the game. So this is, from the standpoint of jiva, we can say like that. But suppose if the jiva, through proper thinking of what is real and what is unreal, if it reaches to the spot of Chidabhas, the source of light for the waking state, then almost he is on the main road. All these lanes, bylanes are over, and now he is on the main road. So from Chidabhas to pure consciousness, from pure consciousness to universal witness consciousness, and then back to infinite awareness and pure knowledge. Our goal, ultimate, is pure knowledge. To remain there is only our job. Jiva's job is to reach the pure knowledge and remain there. When we remain there, then we will become awareful of our absolute existence. See, up to this, the verse is able to reach us. It gives a complete gamut from Prakriti Vikriti onward. The unmanifest Prakriti, the manifest Vikriti onward, it is going up to Sakshi, Antas Sakshi, Sarva Sakshi. All these terms are suggesting us and they help us proceed on the path of spiritual knowledge. So this we can say in short, the reflections that are related to verse number 135. Now in this, again, there is a scope for discussion further in case you have any points which are not covered. In the text they are, but it is not covered.
Guruji, what is the word for awareness? At the mundane level, awareness is called bhana. At the infinite awareness that you talk about, what is the shastric word for that?
Yeah, bhana is the word and the infinite is ananta. Ananta bhana. When the bhana is not concentrated on a particular object, then it is called infinite. And
No, but
when this
pure awareness, etc., you talk about pure awareness, infinite awareness, etc., is there a Sanskrit or Marathi term for it?
Yeah, there will be Marathi terms. No, I have not studied fully the science literature in Marathi, so we'll have to find out. But what we have discussed is bhana is for awareness. Okay, Chaitanya is for consciousness, and the Chidabhas is Janiva. Then absence of Janiva is called Neniva. In deep sleep there is Neniva. In waking there is Janiva. The Chaitanya is there all through. From individual to total universe, Chaitanya, consciousness is there. And Bhana is something awareness. Bhana doesn't have any particularization of object to be aware of. Just awareness, the infinite light is available. Unless the Sankalpa rises, then Sankalpa rises, he becomes conscious of Sankalpa. And that Sankalpa becomes the motive force for generating many more ideas and thoughts. So then the process is active. Really, it is such a subtle game And if we reflect on it, you will find all our projects in the material world. Projects start like this only. First, just a concept. Then you take interest, the concept is developed. Then you invite few members to join you, and they say it's good, and we will share these responsibilities. Likewise, the project becomes expanded, and then when we actually buy the material or involved in the material, etc., then it comes to the solid stuff. So likewise, from a concept to commissioning, as we say about the project, from concept to commissioning. Similarly, here also from concept to the entire game of the world, universe, is play of Maya. And
no, the problem comes because the moment if I take bhana to be the representative of that infinite awareness, then bhana, pure bhana, that is, I'm aware of things around, then I withdraw myself from all the things of which I'm aware of and start fooling myself that this is pure awareness. But that's not what you're talking about. You're talking about something else. So the problem comes.
you have said it just now. You have just now said the absence of all these objects. Correct.
I think that all
That
right, no problem.
occurs only in the state of meditation, only it will occur, where physically you have withdrawn to a lonely corner, solitude. There you sat and withdraw your mind also from the outer world. Then it is in the inner world. In the inner world, there are thoughts related to the object. So the Vishayakar vrittis are there, and that are being illumined now. So now we are discouraging that also. Okay. So the Vishayakar vrittis will go. Likewise,
You're a little fast. Guruji, I'm talking about bhana in the ordinary sense. आपण म्हणतो तुझं भान कुठे आहे?
अजून आलोच नाही मी, भानापर्यंत आलोच नाही ना.
Right in the marketplace, I might still be looking vacantly at everything else and totally be aware, but without any, I'm not at the seat of meditation.
No, this is you're pulling down.
मी बोलवतोय तुला.
नाही, तुम्ही भान हा खाली आणला शब्द फार. मार्केटच्या तिथे नाहीच आहे भान. भान तिथे सगळ्या कॉन्शियसनेसच आहे. वेदर कॉन्शियसनेस इन जनरल और कॉन्शियसनेस इज पर्टिक्युलर, एवढेच डिफरन्स आहे. मार्केटमध्ये जनरल कॉन्शियसनेस असतो की आता आपण मार्केटमध्ये आहोत, पण आपल्याला काय घ्यायचंय म्हटल्यानंतर आपण ते दुकान शोधायला लागतो. हे पर्टिक्युलरायझेशन झालं. पण हे दोन्ही ठिकाणी कॉन्शियसनेसच आहे, भान वगैरे काही नाही. भान म्हणजे जिथे कुठलाही विषय नाही तिथे आपल्याला तिथे जे आहे ते आपल्या लक्षात येतं. अटेन्शन, आवर अटेन्शन इज ड्रॉन टू दॅट विच इज अवेअरनेस. आता इथे ऑब्जेक्टलेस म्हणून आपण हा शब्द एवढ्यासाठी घातला. निर्विशेष, कुठलाही विशेष विचार नाही. बुद्धीचा जो साक्षी आहे त्या बुद्धीमध्ये विचार आला तिथे मग तिथे इंटलेक्ट आहे कळतं. विचाराची प्रोसेस सुरू झाली की का हा विचाराचा प्रेझेन्स आणि ऍब्सेन्स हे दोन्हीही इल्युमिन करणारा आहे तो साक्षी झाला. आणि साक्षी हा कुठपर्यंत साक्षी आहे? जोपर्यंत त्याला विषय आहेत, उपाधीचे विषय आहेत. इकडे लक्ष द्या, जोपर्यंत त्याला उपाधीचे विषय आहेत तोपर्यंत तो साक्षी आहे. समजा या उपाधी पण निवृत्त झाल्या म्हणजे तो विचार सुद्धा गळून गेला की मग तिथे फक्त प्रकाश आहे. तर विषयांशिवाय असलेला प्रकाश यालाच अवेअरनेस किंवा भान म्हटलेलं आहे. आणि जेव्हा तिथे विषय येतात तेव्हा त्यालाच चैतन्य म्हटलेलं आहे. आणि ते जेव्हा बुद्धीमध्ये प्रगट होतं तेव्हा त्यालाच चिदाभास म्हटलेलं आहे. तर हा जो ह्या लेवल्स आहेत या फारशा महत्वाच्या नाहीत. आपलं महत्वाचं काय आहे की विचारांचं परिमाण कमी करून विचारांची दिशा बदलून सत आणि असत याचा विचार करणं ही प्रत्यक्ष आध्यात्मिक साधनेची सुरुवात आहे. आणि जेव्हा हे विचार थांबतील तेव्हा आपल्या लक्षात येईल. त्याला केनोपनिषदामध्ये विद्युत असे 3 स्वर देऊन त्यात म्हटलेलं आहे. विद्युत, ज्याप्रमाणे विद्युत हे फ्लॅश होते एकदम, जसं आपल्याला भान होतं. आता इथे कसं होतं, रोजच्या ह्याच्यामध्ये आपण आपले व्यवहार करतो संध्याकाळी रात्री, आणि लाईट गेले की मग आपल्या लक्षात येतं की आतापर्यंत लाईट होते म्हणून आपले व्यवहार चालू होते. आता लाईट बंद झाला. तसं इथे उलट आहे की जेव्हा सगळे विषय आपण बाहेरचे विषय बाहेर ठेवतो, बहिर्बाह्यान कृतो असं 5व्या याच्या शेवटी आहे, 5व्या अध्यायामध्ये, की ते साधनेची ध्यान साधनेची सुरुवात. बाहेरचे विषय बाहेर ठेवतो, मग आत येतो. पण आत विषयाकार वृत्ती असतात, मग त्या वृत्तींना पण नाकारतो आपण, त्याचा आपण इंटरेस्ट दाखवत नाही, मग त्या वृत्ती हळूहळू गळायला लागतात. असं करता करता, आणि हे करता करता आपण म्हणताना पण काही मिनिटं घेतली, पण हे असं रोज बसून बघायला लागतं. रोज बसून एक दिवशी मन ते विचार सोडतच नाही. मग काय करायचं? काही नाही, तेवढा आपला वेळ जेवढा आहे तेवढं द्यायचं आणि परत उठून जायचं, दुसऱ्या दिवशी बसायचं. असं करत जेव्हा आपण सूक्ष्म पातळीवर जातो याच्या, म्हणजे विचार कमी कमी व्हायला लागतात. एकीकडे आपण या चैतन्याची पातळी जशी वरवरची जाते तसतसे आधीचे विचार, खालच्या स्तरावरचे विचार गळून पडतात. आणि मग जिथे तो पहिला संकल्प आहे तशी इथे आली की तोही संकल्प कळला पाहिजे. तेव्हा जे भान होतं ते केवळ विषयरहित असं भान आहे. विषय सहित भान आलं की त्याला चैतन्य म्हण. ही टेक्नॉलॉजी ही परिभाषा आहे. परिभाषा म्हणजे टर्मिनॉलॉजी आहे. त्यामुळे या प्रत्येक स्टेटला एक एक आपण टर्म दिली. व्यक्ती तीच आहे, की ऑफिसर आहे, क्लब मेंबर आहे, गृहस्थ आहे, नवरा आहे, भाऊ आहे, जसं आहे ते फंक्शनल आहे. व्यक्ती एकच आहे. त्याप्रमाणे तो एकच लाईट हा अवेअरनेस होतो, म्हणजे भान होतो जेव्हा त्या निर्विषय असतं. आणि मग जेव्हा विषय येतो तेव्हा मग त्या विषयाचा तो साक्षी होतो. इल्युमिनेशन तसंच राहतं, पण त्याचं त्या विषयाचं साक्षीत्व, कारण तो त्या विषयामध्ये गुंतून जात नाही किंवा त्यात इन्व्हॉल्व्ह होत नाही, त्याचा तो सहभाग घेत नाही, म्हणून त्याला साक्षी म्हटलेलं आहे. आणि साक्ष पहिली कुठल्या कशाचं साक्षीत्व आहे? तर बुद्धीचं आहे. माणसामध्ये पहिली बुद्धी आहे, सूक्ष्मात सूक्ष्म बुद्धी आहे. बाहेरून आत जाताना विषय, इंद्रिय, प्राण, मन, बुद्धी. पण इकडून चैतन्याकडून सुरुवात करताना पहिली बुद्धी आहे, उपाधी. त्या बुद्धीमध्ये बुद्धीला प्रकाशित करणारं जे चैतन्य आहे, आणि त्याच बुद्धीमध्ये चिदाभास हे त्या शुद्ध चैतन्याचं प्रतिबिंब आहे. ते प्रतिबिंब जागृत अवस्थेमध्ये सगळ्या भावना, संकल्प, विकल्प, विचार आणि बाहेरचे विषय प्रकाशित करतं. हे इथपर्यंत येणं, म्हणून इथे आपण भान आणि चैतन्य याचा असा फरक केला. निर्विषय हा शब्द त्यात टाकला. ऑब्जेक्टलेस अवेअरनेस अँड विटनेस विथ ऑब्जेक्ट.
पण त्या अवस्थेत सुद्धा भान ठेवणाऱ्याचं भान राहील, म्हणजे माझं भान राहील.
हो, भान असतंच, पण शिवाय आणखी म्हणजे आपण ते म्हणून तर आपण ते सनलिट वॉलचं उदाहरण घेतलं एवढ्यासाठी, की भिंत ही सकाळी सूर्यप्रकाशाने प्रकाशित आहे, पण जी पण पोरं येतात आणि आपापले आरशाचे तुकडे तुटके फुटके घेऊन येतात आणि त्याचे ब्राईट पॅचेस असतात. तर हा ब्राईट पॅचेस म्हणजे चिदाभास आहे. मग चिदाभास बघितला सुद्धा आपल्याला लाईटची आठवण, सूर्याची आठवण झाली पाहिजे. नाही झाली तर ते आरशाचे तुकडे फेकले, फुटले वगैरे, तर भिंत प्रकाशित आहे. कुठूनही काहीतरी विषय आहे, पण विषय संपल्यानंतर मग आपलं लक्ष त्या प्रकाशाकडे जातं. म्हणून प्रकाश आणि विमर्शातला विमर्श हा संपला पाहिजे, की प्रकाशाचं भान होतं. ते भान आहे, त्याला इन्फिनिट अवेअरनेस म्हटलंय. कारण इन्फिनिट, कारण तो मॅच विथ इटर्नल एक्झिस्टन्स, इट इज इन्फिनिट ओनली. कारण फायनाईट आलं की तिथे मग मर्यादित गोष्टी येतात, विषय येतात, उपाधी येतात, वेगवेगळ्या गोष्टी येतात. तर इथे हा जो अवेअरनेस लेवल गाठणं ही सर्वात मोठी तपश्चर्या आहे. आणि ती तपोवन महाराजांनी ती साधली. 32 वर्ष ते गंगा काठेवर होते. गंगा हे उपास्य धरलं. गंगेवरून नॉलेज म्हणजे ज्ञान हे गंगा त्याचं प्रतिनिधित्व करते, ज्ञानगंगा. अशा दृष्टीने ते ज्ञानापर्यंत पोहोचले. आणि ही त्यांची ती जे ते चित्र फोटो दाखवलेला आहे, बसलेला आहे, स्थिर बसलेला आहे, आणि स्वामीजी उभे आहेत. तुम्ही पवई आश्रम मध्ये गेलात त्या सरस्वती निलयमध्ये, तो हॉल आहे जिथे लेक्चर्स वगैरे होतात. तिथे एकाच बाजूला उभे विवेकानंदांच्या पोज मध्ये स्वामी चिन्मयानंद आहेत आणि दुसऱ्या बाजूला खाली बसलेले तपोवन महाराज आहेत. हा फरक बघा, लक्षात घ्या. त्याच्यात तपोवन महाराज हा लाईक लाईट ऑफ अवेअरनेस आहे आणि इकडे कॉन्शियसनेस आहे. म्हणजे इथे जगाची जाणीव आहे, इथे माणसांची जाणीव आहे, त्यांच्या सेवेमध्ये तत्परता आहे. हे सगळं चिन्मयानंदांच्या ठिकाणी आहे. तर हे 2 लेवल्स आहेत, या समाज कठीण आहे. त्यामुळे आपल्याला सुद्धा आता सुरुवातीला गंगा स्तोत्र हे अभ्यासक्रमात होतं स्टडी ग्रुपच्या, ते नंतर काढून टाकलं. कोणीतरी सुचवलं कमिटीमध्ये, अहो हे संस्कृत अरे फार कठीण आहे, काही कळणार नाहीये. झालं, मग काढून टाकलं. मग दुसरी आणखी पुस्तकं आली. पण मुख्य म्हणजे आपण स्वामीजींच्या वाङ्मयाचा अभ्यास करता करता शेवटी तपोवन महाराजांचं बघितलं पाहिजे. तपोवन महाराजांनी सुद्धा सौम्यकाशीश स्तोत्रामध्ये सर्व उपनिषद 16 उपनिषदांचं सार सांगितलेलं आहे. सौम्यकाशीश स्तोत्र. बादरीश स्तोत्रामध्ये त्यांनी ब्रह्मसूत्रावर भाष्य केलेलं आहे आपल्या शब्दात, 100 श्लोकात फक्त 4 चॅप्टर्स. जसे मांडुक्य कारिका याच्यात आहे तसे 4 चॅप्टर्स त्यांनी काढले. हे बादरीश स्तोत्रम हे या मांडुक्य कारिका ब्रह्मसूत्र वगैरे याच्यावरचं आहे. नंतर सौम्यकाशीश स्तोत्रम याच्यामध्ये संपूर्ण उपनिषदांची 16 उपनिषदांचं सार आहे आणि गंगा स्तोत्रमध्ये सर्वसाधारण वेदांत शास्त्रावर मूलभूत विचार आहेत, मूलभूत सिद्धांत आहेत. मग गंगा स्तोत्रम यातलं फक्त एकच गंगा स्तोत्रम फक्त गुरुदेवांनी स्टडी ग्रुपमध्ये लावलं होतं, ते नंतर काढून टाकलं. संस्कृत फार कठीण आहे वगैरे. तर भाषा काय, तुम्हाला जर आता जर्मनीत काम करायचं असेल तर जर्मन शिकायला लागणार की नाही, आणि ती तुमची तयारी असते की नाही. तसं आता आपल्याला जर हे समजून घ्यायचं असेल तर वेळ आली तर संस्कृतही शिकायला लागेल. तर हे आता आपल्या लिमिटेशन्स आहेत. आपल्याला जर नाही शिकायचं असेल तर ठीक आहे, खालच्या लेवलला सुद्धा चांगलं आहे, काही वाईट नाही. स्वामीजींच्या लेवलला सतत सेवा करणं हे आता रिसेंटली मोहिनीने पोस्ट टाकली होती, त्याच्यामध्ये स्वामीजींनी म्हटलेलं होतं की आपल्यावर अवलंबून असलेल्या लोकांची आपण देखभाल करणं ही आपली फिजिकल ड्युटी झाली. नंतर समाजाच्या सेवेमध्ये सतत रमून जाणं ही आपली मॉरल ड्युटी झाली आणि मग हे स्पिरिच्युअल वगैरे येतं. या 2 ड्युटीज पहिल्या सांभाळल्याशिवाय आपल्याला पुढे ऍक्सेस प्रवेशच मिळणार नाहीये. त्यामुळे हे आपण गृहस्थाश्रमामध्ये आपल्यावर अवलंबून असलेल्यांची काळजी घेणं वगैरे आणि उरलेल्या वेळात समाजासाठी देणं, समाजसेवा करणं, हे 2 साधल्याशिवाय इकडे विचार मन जाणारच नाही. त्या तिकडे मन आवड निर्माणच होणार नाही तिथे. तो आता रिकाम बसला, काय रिकाम बसला, गेला बाहेर 4 मित्रांकडे, अरे याच्याकडे आपण गेलो नाही बऱ्याच दिवसात, चला जाऊन बसला तिथे, चहा पाणी वगैरे गप्पा टप्पा करून आला परत दिवसभरला. असं चालणार जोपर्यंत इथे लक्ष जात नाही तोपर्यंत. पण जर गृहस्थाश्रमामध्ये थोडा वेळ आपण लोकांच्या सेवेसाठी निरपेक्ष वृत्तीने, काही त्याच्यापासून रिटर्न नको ना, इवन बिफोर ही सेज, स्वामीजी म्हणतात इवन बिफोर ही सेज थँक्यू यू डिसअपिअर फ्रॉम द सीन, इतके निरपेक्ष सेवा ही जर आपण उरलेल्या वेळात केली आणि आपल्या नेहमीच्या वेळामध्ये आपल्या ड्युटीज रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीचं भान ठेवून आपण तसं वागलो तर आपण ह्या आध्यात्मिक साधनेसाठी उपलब्ध होऊ. नाहीतर साठी बुद्धी नाठी या जनरल नियम हा लागू होतो आणि मग त्याची बुद्धी आणखीच भ्रष्ट होते जसे 60 वय आला की. हा भाग आपल्याला नीट समजून घ्यायचा आहे, एकदम स्टेप बाय स्टेप जायचं आहे. आपल्याला काय त्याच्याच कृपेने समजणार आहे सगळं. आपले फक्त प्रयत्न आहेत, बाकीचा रिझल्ट त्यांचाच आहे, ईश्वराचा आहे किंवा गुरुचा आहे. त्यामुळे ते आपल्याला आपले काम करणं आणि उरलेला वेळ काहीतरी थोडीशी सेवा करणं. मग ती तुम्ही संस्थेच्या माध्यमातून करा नाहीतर स्वतंत्र करा, पण नियम एकच, नो एक्सपेक्टेशन इन रिटर्न, कुठल्याही मोबदल्याची अपेक्षा न करता आणि समर्पण वृत्तीने आपलं सगळं बेस्ट जे आहे ते तिथे ओतायचं ते आपल्या कर्मामध्ये आणि बेस्ट कर्म क्वालिटी सर्व्हिस द्यायची. हे जर आपण एवढं धोरण गृहस्थाश्रमामध्ये ठेवलं तर वानप्रस्थाच्या वेळेला लोकांनी तुम्हाला कोपऱ्यात टाकण्यापेक्षा तुम्हीच एक चांगला कोपरा निवडा आणि त्यांच्यापासून निवृत्त व्हा आणि या चिंतनामध्ये ध्यानामध्ये तुम्हाला निश्चितपणे पुढच्या पायऱ्या प्रगतीच्या मिळतील. हा भाग इथे आला. अशा तऱ्हेने आपला हा सेल्फ इट्स नेचर हा विषय इथे संपला. हा शेवटचा 135वा श्लोक संपला. आणि मी आधीच्या सेशन मध्ये सुचवल्याप्रमाणे अनिकेतने काय करायचं, हे सगळं कंपाईल करायचं. आतापर्यंत त्यांनी जे सादर केलं कंपाईल करायचं, त्यातला रिपिटेशनचा पोर्शन काढून टाकायचा. कारण आधीच्या यातला आपण बरंच रिपीट करतो. पुढे कंटिन्युटीसाठी 2 महिन्याची गॅप असते, तर तेवढा काढून टाकायचा आणि एक सलग असा राईटअप तयार करायचा. मोठं आपण जमल्यास तो प्रिंट आउट काढू त्याचे आणि आपल्या कॅम्पर्सना जे रेग्युलर अटेंड करत असते त्यांना आपण त्या कॉपीज देता येतील. असा एक साधारण कल्पना आहे. आतापर्यंत आपण जे मासिक विचार यज्ञ केला आत्मबोधावर, तो सहसा 4-4.5 वर्ष चालला आणि त्यामध्ये आपण आत्मबोधाचं जेवढं झालं ते ट्रान्सलिटरेशन, मग त्याचं संपादन, मग त्याचा फायनल टच आणि असं करून ते काढलं आणि आपण सर्व कोऑर्डिनेटर, सर्व होस्ट आणि सर्व सेवकांना दिलं. या प्रती मोजक्याच काढल्या होत्या, म्हणजे त्या 30-32 काढल्या होत्या काय ते. हे गीता देशमुखनी काम केलं. तसं आपल्याला हे म्हणजे काय होईल, आपल्याला आता उपलब्ध आहे पण समजा तेवढा इंटरेस्ट नाहीये तर आपण ठेवून देऊ. जेव्हा इंटरेस्ट येईल तेव्हा ते आपल्याला उपलब्ध असलं पाहिजे. साकल्याने सगळं कन्साइज प्रिसाइज मॅनर मध्ये उपलब्ध असेल तर ते गायडन्स म्हणून उपयोगी पडेल. येस. आणि कोणाला काही, तर आपली ही सिरीज कॅम्पची सिरीज झाली. 3 महत्वाच्या सिरीज झालेल्या आहेत. ब्रह्मज्ञानावली माला, नंतर हे ऑल मॅनिफेस्टेशन ॲब्सोल्यूट, आणि हे आता 3रं परमात्मा किंवा आत्म्याचा स्वभाव, आपला स्वभाव. तर या बरोबर आपला ही सिरीज समाप्त झाली. आणि काही कोणाला बोलायचं असेल तर बोला, अन्यथा आपल्याला या कन्क्लुडिंग प्रेयर्स वगैरे. यस. आतापर्यंत आपल्या कॅम्प सिरीज मध्ये, या आधीच्या कॅम्प सिरीज मध्ये आपल्या शोभा अत्रेने बात चांगली कामगिरी केली होती यजमान पदाची आणि न्याहारीची वगैरे. त्यामुळे आपले कॅम्प एकदम सलग एका पुढे एका होत गेले, पूर्ण गेले. तसेच आता अनिकेतच्या निमित्ताने या ऑनलाईनचे कॅम्प पण झाले. तो आधी तिकडे शोभाकडे येत होता ते काय कॅम्पला, मध्ये तो याच्यामुळे करोनामुळे खंड पडतोय असं दिसल्याबरोबर ऑनलाईन सुरू झाला. मला कुठूनही ते कंप्लीट झाली, ती सिरीज कंप्लीट झाली. ही दुसरी पण झाली. ठीक आहे. आपल्या बरोबर सोबत स्वामीजी आहे तेवढं आपल्याला लक्षात यायला हरकत नाही. गुरुदेव आपल्या बरोबर आहेत. आपण जे उपक्रम करू हे यशस्वी होणार. आपली जर ही मनोवृत्ती असेल तर डेफिनेटली होऊ शकते. आता जशी त्याप्रमाणे आपल्याला ते बळ पण देतील आवश्यक असेल ते. आता कन्क्लुडिंग प्रार्थना.
आत्मा त्वं गिरिजामति सहचरा प्राणा शरीरं गृहम् पूजा ते विषयोपभोगरचना निद्रा समाधिस्थितिः संचारः पदयोः प्रदक्षिणविधिः स्तोत्राणि सर्वा गिरो यद्यत् कर्म करोमि तत्तदखिलं शम्भो तवाराधनम्. सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ।
Hari Om, everybody.